Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy Antifa Friday, August 22nd, 2025, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Thank you for being here. We know you have many, many choices to make every single day, and we're always so very grateful that you choose to spend some time with us. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If you're just finding us here, hi, I'm Fax. How's it going? Also, Steve, that's my backup. If you haven't yet followed that, please consider doing so. There's a gifting goal today. Please consider subscribing. If we can get 10 subscribers today, we will spin the wheel and we will give away an item from the merch store. We'll do that on Monday. By the way, the merch store is located at factsstillmatter.site. You can find that. It's also called Fax HQ. Links to our Discord are also there. All kinds of really cool merch, including I Am Fucking Zen t-shirts available now in colors and sizes that you might like. So yeah, so do that. And we are crowdfunded here. If you'd like to support the channel, best way you can do that is through the various pay apps, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. All my socials, by the way, are at Factsstillmatter. So thank you. I just want to thank everybody yesterday for helping us put together that interview with hopefully Governor-elect of Alabama, Dr. Will Boyd. It was refreshing. You can watch the replay on my YouTube if you like. All the replays, by the way, are there. And if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, please consider doing so. That'd be great. We're efforting, as they say, to stream more from YouTube, but that will be a conversation for a different day. So all that. And again, join our Discord as well, because that's where the action happens. And our Discord community is amazing. You learn a lot about people. Mods decided to run for office. I've got pages and pages of dirt. Good dirt, but dirt nonetheless. If you know, you know. So thank you all for being here. Really, really appreciate you. Tapping is clapping, sharing is caring, liking is loving. Appreciate y'all very, very much. So there's a bit of breaking news. We'll get into some of the bullshit that happened yesterday. We're going to cover the civil fraud case because I've already seen MAGA rights celebrating, and the words from Mr. Trump are just crazy. Anyway, the FBI has raided John Bolton's home as of 7 o'clock this morning. John Bolton, former national security advisor under the Trump administration, tells FBI raids John Bolton's home in a high-profile national security probe. FBI agents raided former Trump security advisor John Bolton's D.C. area home this morning in a high-profile national security probe. The New York Post reveals federal agents busted into Bolton's house in Bethesda, Maryland at 7 a.m. in an investigation ordered by FBI Director Kash Patel. A Trump administration official told the Post, "No one is above the law," according to Kash Patel. Okay. FBI director, let's see, where is it? The probe, which is said to involve classified documents, was first launched years ago, but the Biden administration shut it down for political reasons, according to a senior U.S. official. This goes back, and again, I tell you guys every single day how much I love my mod team. I just sit up here and talk. They're like the engine. So they provided this story. Thanks, Tiff, in particular. This goes back a few years. White House pressured officials to say John Bolton's book was a security risk. A former National Security Council official who, while working in the administration, the Trump administration the first time, reviewed John Bolton's memoir for classified information before publication, has claimed that White House lawyers tried to pressure her into signing a misleading statement to prevent the publication of the book. So the book was vetted. Everything that was discussed was vetted. The publishing of the memoirs was approved. Okay. Here we are. So this is a grudge that the Trump administration has been holding on to for years, then get an opportunity, and they want to use breaking down the door of John Bolton's home to justify all their claims about a witch hunt. The allegations come, this story is from 4.5 years ago. The allegations come from a week after the U.S. Department of Justice launched a criminal investigation into whether Bolton, the former national security advisor, mishandled classified information in his book, The Room Where It Happened. Highly critical of Trump, the book was a bestseller when it was published in June, selling 780,000 copies in its first week alone. In a letter filed in federal court in Washington, lawyers for Ellen Knight, the former senior director for records, access, and information security management at the NSC, National Security Council, said that her republication review of Bolton's book had actually cleared it in April. Person working in the Trump administration, NSC, cleared the information that was published in the book. The Trump administration cleared the information. Let me say it again for the MAGA in the back. The Trump administration's national security team cleared the information that was published in John Bolton's book. The FBI raided his home this morning at 7 a.m. to say that the information published in his book was classified. They are so fucking desperate to distract people. All right. According to the letter, Knight and her colleagues spent hundreds of hours over the course of 4 months, reviewing and researching information found in the 500-page manuscript. Initially, they found the manuscript contained voluminous amounts of classified information and that it would take a significant effort to put it into publishable shape. But after a 4-month consultation, described as regular, intensive, and occasionally spirited, Knight's team determined that the heavily revised manuscript would disclose no information that would cause harm to our national security. But Knight's lawyers allege that the White House, the Trump White House, first time, officials then conducted their own review of Bolton's revised manuscript and claimed it still contained classified information in a process that Knight called fundamentally flawed. Knight alleges that the officials then tried to get her to admit that she and her team had missed something or made a mistake. Sound familiar? Again, the information that is published that's real, because the Trump administration doesn't like it, it's either fake or wrong or manipulated or whatever. Knight alleges that the officials then tried to get her to admit that she and her team had missed something or made a mistake, which could be used to support their argument to block publication. Knight then declined to sign a declaration saying that Bolton's book still contained classified information intended to be filed in the lawsuit against Bolton. Despite efforts from what she described as a rotating cast of Justice Department and White House attorneys over the course of 5 days and a total of 18 hours worth of meetings. Quote, Ms. Knight asked the attorneys how it could be appropriate that a designedly apolitical process had been commandeered by political appointees for a seemingly political purpose. She asked them to explain why they were so insistent on pursuing litigation rather than resolving the potential national security issues through engagement with Ambassador Bolton and her team. So, again, because, and I'm going to give RTP credit, he just refers to MAGA conservatives as lazy because they are lazy. If I'm sure they're going to be celebrating this all through spaces, Fox News is already talking about it, right? This was vetted under the Trump administration the first time. They cleared it. Trump NSC. And because they didn't like the information that was published in the book because it exposed some of Trump's bullshit, they didn't like that. So now what they're doing is they're going to knock on the door, break down the door of John Bolton and claim that he's a national security threat. Don't forget, they removed his security clearance. They took away his security detail, even though he's been targeted by the Iranian government. So that's nice. They are so fucking desperate to distract you. Remember what I tell you, friends, right? These things are not distractions. They are an attempt to distract you from the e-files. They're doing everything they possibly can to distract you from the e-files. My advice, ignore it. John Bolton's no hero. Just ignore it. They want you to pay attention to it. We will report on the news because that's what we do. Ignore it. Just ignore it. They're fucking desperate. So again, thanks, Tiff, for putting that story together. I really appreciate it. All right. Today, what we are going to talk about, and I've said this to you guys before. What's this? That's interesting. Okay. Today, as I've talked to you guys about many, many times, yes, it's Republican, Democrat in our country, but to me, it's always been about conservatives versus progressives. And I use conservatives broadly because there are conservatives within the Democratic Party as well. And I want progress, right? So you are either conserving the status quo, and some people are just blatantly obvious about how much they want to conserve. Now, never mind even conserve. They want to go back in time. Thank you, Huey Lewis. Thank you, Huey Lewis and the news. Progressives, by definition, want progress. Every single point in our history where we've made progress, there has been conservative resistance. So we're going to unpack a lot of that today. We're going to talk about the history of American conservatism and how the lie that's been told to the American public is that conservatives stand for certain things, like conservatives stand for small government, that conservatives stand for, protecting the middle class, preserving rights and freedoms. All that is bullshit. None of that has been true since the early 1970s through the 80s in particular, and it's just exponentially increased now because there's no longer can they claim that they're the party of the middle class and the working class. You're going to stand there and tell you that every single day. Not that the core Democratic message is necessarily for the middle class and the working class. Progressives are, though. We are the ones that want to move society forward. We are the ones that want society to progress. And I always ask, why would people be opposed to progress? We're going to unpack that. All right. The other story I wanted to cover is, again, friends, thank you for, I just see that. Thank you, Carol. I appreciate you, Carol. You're very kind. Appreciate you. Rugged individualism is also BS. Good call. Yeah, rugged individualism, right? Independence, free thinking. The party that claims they want small government is sucking the D of big government. Sorry for that graphic image at 8:11 in the morning, but it's true. They literally claim to be the party of small government. I want the government out of my business, but yet they cheer every single time big old scary government comes in and steps in, as long as it goes to support their racism, bigotry, transphobia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, there you go. All right, the other story that came out yesterday was the civil fraud decision in New York. And of course, I wanted to explore another sleepless night, so I spent a little bit of time in right-wing spaces, and they are celebrating this like it's nothing you've ever seen before. Again, because conservatives, in particular MAGA Republicans, are lazy. They will see the headline. They will go to Truth Social. So I'm going to read you Trump's Truth Social post, which is wild, and then we are systematically going to debunk it, because that's what we do. That's what we do. All right. So let me find that first. Buckle up, because this is a long one. Total victory in the fake New York State Attorney General Letitia James case. Total victory. Remember that. I greatly respect the fact that the court had the courage to throw out this unlawful and disgraceful decision that was hurting business all throughout New York State. Others were afraid to do business there. The amount, including interest and penalties, was over $550 million. It was a political witch hunt in a business sense, the likes of which no one has ever seen before. This was a case of election interference by the city and state, trying to show illegally that I did things that were wrong, when in fact, everything I did was absolutely correct in all caps, and even perfect in all caps. Every single dollar was thrown out. Even the penalties imposed on us by corrupt judge, one of the most overturned in history. That is a bold-faced fucking lie, and I will prove it in a minute. I wasn't given a jury. Again, another lie. You had an option. Your team fucked up. I wasn't given a jury, and during the course of the trial, which lasted a long time, was not given one ruling in my favor by this political hack. But worse than him, if that's possible, was Letitia James, a corrupt and incompetent attorney general who only brought this case in order to hurt me politically. She's a Trump deranged lunatic. They made me bond the outrageous sum, which never happened before, and which cost me millions of dollars a month. It should never have been allowed to happen, and everyone knew it. Importantly, the vote was 5-0. I am so honored by Justice David Friedman's great words of wisdom, which should be read by everyone. I would also like to thank the court for having the courage to make this decision, which is already going down as one of the worst business persecutions in the history of our country. Sadly, there are other cases against me that are equally disgraceful, including those headed up by corrupt judges like Juan Merchan, whose daughter collected millions of dollars in fees from crooked Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, while her father shockingly refused to recuse, in all caps, himself from a vicious and corrupt trial, which is also under appeal, one in which every legal pundit in New York said there was no case, all caps. Even editorial board said, do not do this, in all caps. Judge Merchan gave me an unprecedented gag order, not letting me talk about him or his daughter or the fact that the appellate judges thought he should be doing this case to begin with, but he did it anyway. Many lawyers said that his daughter and him created the greatest conflict of interest they had ever seen. Judge Lewis Kaplan, the other remaining case, whose wife, family, and friends attended his two trials, is as mean and nasty as anyone I have ever met. That case, also on appeal, should also never be brought. Should have never been brought. And he should be admonished for abuse and every other thing that can be thrown at a corrupt judge. He loved the publicity, and he would not let us present irrefutable evidence that we wanted to present. This Clinton-appointed judge should not be allowed to get away with this scam. Holy crap. Okay, so what is the actual truth? What is the actual truth? What is the actual decision that was made by the appellate court yesterday? Let's talk about it. Now, we know that it doesn't matter. It does not matter what the actual evidence in this case, because lazy conservative MAGA Republicans are just going to believe that dribble. Okay, so I was curious. All right, so I went back and I was like, all right, that doesn't make sense, what he just said. So here's the results of the case. The case was brought by Attorney General Letitia James under Executive Law 6.3 subset 12, which lets the AG sue over persistent fraud or illegality in business. The trial court found that Donald Trump and his company inflated asset values for years on statements of financial condition to obtain better terms from lenders and insurers. The judge emphasized that even if the loans were repaid, false statements still harm the marketplace. More than $350 million in disgorgement, that was Engeron's figure, with prejudgment interest pushed that total over $450 million. Business restrictions. This is key because in that statement, hold on. In that statement, he said, let's see. In a business likes of which no one's ever seen a case was that I did things that were wrong when in fact everything I did was absolutely correct and even perfect. Every single dollar was thrown out, even the penalties imposed on us by the judge. Okay, so that's an important distinction. That again, his believers and his cult members will believe it. Business restrictions. Trump was barred for 3 years from serving as an officer director of any New York company. Donald Trump Jr. and Eric barred for 2 years. Trump and his companies barred for 3 years from applying for loans from New York regulated financial institutions. Although, again, in Donald Jr.'s own words, they get all the money that they need from Russia, right? Follow what, friends? Follow what? Follow the money. A court monitor continues, and an independent director of compliance must be installed at the Trump org. Here's the results of the case. A New York Appellate Division panel threw out the $500 million monetary penalty as excessive, but left in place the fraud finding against Trump and others. Everything that I just read, Trump barred for 3 years to be an officer, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric barred for 2 years, Trump and his companies barred for 3 years, and a court monitor continues to exist. So, what have we learned here, friends? What have we learned? What have we learned? We have learned that the president of the United States is still a libel fraudster. The only thing that was removed was the financial penalty. Now, you could argue that. Was it too excessive? We'll find out because Tish James is going to appeal it to the Supreme Court. And don't you find it interesting that the Trump administration, Donald Trump in particular, the Trump org in this case, is not appealing this decision to the Supreme Court? Because there's still the penalty phase, not the financial penalty, but the fraud penalties. Barred for 3 years of serving as an officer director for any New York company. Don Jr. and Eric barred for 2. Trump and his companies barred for 3 years from applying for loans from New York regulated financial institutions and a court monitor. So again, the financial penalty taken away. Tish James is gonna appeal that. But again, do not let MAGA fucking lie to you. If people bothered to do a little bit of research, let me turn the fan on. If people bothered to look past the headlines, you would find that too. So what MAGA does is they come up with a conclusion first and then work their way backwards. What did we lose, Ferris? You lost, Ferris. You voted for a convicted felon, 34-time convicted felon, serial rapist, and a fraud. That's who you voted for. Now, if we were to look at this just singularly, right? Just singularly, one instance, then we could say, okay, maybe there was a little thumb on the scale of justice, so to speak. Here's the problem. I'm going to take you guys through. I think this is important, so please bear with me. I'm going to take you guys through what they found during this trial, okay? This is the playbook, okay? His staff were told to work backwards to hit numbers Trump wanted before sending figures to the accountants who compiled his FFCs. This was, again, issued in the court order. The statements of when I say SFC, I mean statements of financial condition. The SFCs were shown to lenders to support personal guarantees and loan terms and to insurers during underwriting. The AG's complaint and the decision described these as ways to obtain lower rates and other advantages. Disclaimers in the SFCs didn't immunize misstatements the court held and upheld because he still can't do business under normal conditions. So all the penalty portion, meaning the banning from getting loans, the business control, a monitor, all of those things are still in place. Tactics. Inflating square footage and then price per square foot. Trump Tower Triplex was listed as 30,000 square feet when records show it was actually 10,996. After Forbes exposed the size, the company switched to record-shattering comps to keep the value sky high. Mar-a-Lago was valued as a private residence, even though Trump had deeded it to perpetual club-only use for tax benefits. Staff hid those deed restrictions from the employee preparing the valuations. 40 Wall Street used cap rates far below an outsider's appraisal, omitted appraisal pages that would lower the value, and then double counted a lucrative Dean and DeLuca lease, adding roughly $175 million to value versus the appraisal. Trump Tower told staff to remove real expenses, management fees, and plug in an unusually low cap rate of 2.6% to boost value while citing a broker email that didn't actually support that rate. Seven Springs in Westchester booked $161 million for 7 hypothetical mansions, despite appraisers telling the company the land was worth a tiny fraction of that. Emails showed the internal number came from Eric Trump, not from an appraiser. Trump Park Avenue valued rent stabilized units as if unregulated and even at an aspirational offering price, producing overvaluations of up to 700%. For clubs and other assets, the state showed a pattern of tacking on 15 to 30% of Trump brand premiums, even as the SFC said no such premiums were used. Hiding liabilities and paper filing. The independent monitor later flagged omitted liabilities like intercompany loans and other reporting problems, one reason the court expanded oversight. And then tight control to who could see the SFCs. Insurers and brokers were allowed to view but not copy SFCs at Trump Tower. The complaint also detailed no material change letters tied to SFCs for a DC government concession. Again, the fraud is right there. The financial, what do they call it? Disengorgement, the payback. That's the only thing that the appeals court said, you don't have to pay this back. Again, those are the elements of fraud. That still upheld. Now, as far as the jury trial, because it's something else that he claimed, the case sought equitable remedies, not ordinary money damages. New York AG sued under Executive Law 6312 and asked the court for injunctions, compliance controls, and disgorgement. Under New York law, claims seeking primarily equitable relief are tried by the judge, not a jury. The AG's filing flagged the case as non-jury. Trump's lawyers did not file a jury demand within the window to do so, another reason it proceeded as a bench trial. So again, all right? So MAGA, suck it. You can celebrate this all you want, just like you're celebrating the fact that he didn't go to jail for his 34-time felony convictions. You think that's a win too. So many of you are out there marching in the streets with your white hoods and flags. I'm kidding, TikTok. Totally kidding. Not totally kidding though. Claiming that he's no longer a 34-time convicted felon when he is. Even in the judge's own statement, I've even heard TikTok MAGA lives with MAGA chuds playing the judge's words about the penalty. You're the president. I can't put you in jail. You are still a 34-time convicted felon. See that? He ain't a felon no more. He is still a fraudster. He is still a felon. He is still an adjudicated sexual predator. Period. Full stop. You still voted for that. Good luck defending it because we're not going to let you. The thumb is on your head. We're not going to let you do it. So those are the facts of the case. All of the elements connected to what he did and what his organization did to commit fraud All that holds. The only thing that the appeals court ruled on is the financial penalty. Tish James has already said that she's going to appeal it. Now, you can go to True Social and you can read it. And if people in his orbit, which he knows many of them will go to True Social for their news, which is just mind-boggling, but whatever, they're going to just take that as his word because that's what they do. Yeah, and again, see that? Chad, he's still a 34-time convicted felon, Chad. Here's the thing, guys. And I was thinking about this because we've got two opposing opinions on something, right? I'm going to sit here and say that he is still a 34-time convicted felon. People like Chad are going to say he's not. So how do we break the tie? We break the tie by going to what the judge said. Mag is going to celebrate, say he's no longer a fraudster in New York. I'm going to say, yeah, he absolutely is. How do we break the tie? We break the tie by going to what the judges actually said. You are still a fraudster. You still did all these things. You are still liable for fraud, and you are still penalized in the business sense by not being able to do the things that we just discussed. That's what we know. So it's a really easy proposition. If you have two people on conflicting sides of the issue, how do you find the truth? And what the right's going to say, because they've been conditioned to think this, is that it doesn't matter what the actual facts are. They're just going to believe the narrative. And they're going to seek out confirmation bias. And they're going to go to places like Newsmax today, and they're going to go to InfoWars, and they're going to go to their favorite right-wing talkers, their talking heads, and those people are going to tell them, he got away with it, there's nothing here, total witch hunt, blah, blah, blah. And you guys are going to run around in social spaces and talk about the same thing you always talked about. Instead, why don't you spend a half an hour in here with us every single day? You know, our mods will be nice to you initially. Our chat will be nice to you initially. And then when you jump into your confirmation bias hellhole, we'll call you out. It's just, I'm not going to say it's embarrassing because it is embarrassing, but exactly, Jess. Fair question. Fair question. So again, the facts of the case, the appellate court ruled. So what he said in his True Social piece is just a bona fide fucking lie. By the way, that's my backup. If you guys haven't yet followed my backup, please consider doing so. The panel says it themselves. Dude, you're still a fraudster, but we just think that the financial penalty is just too harsh. You're still a fraudster. You still did all these things. We're still going to hold all these things we're still going to hold you responsible for the things that you did that were obvious elements of fraud, just like the 34 felony counts. You did those things. I just can't put you in jail because you were elected. I just can't put you behind bars because I would have sentenced you to jail. So again, he's still a 34-time convicted felon. He's still a business fraud. He's still an adjudicated sexual predator. Period. Full stop. And by the way, he's still committing fraud. He's still doing all these things that we've seen him do all along his entire business career. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to tell you in just a second. There's reporting now about how Donald Trump, this is reported by Reuters, Trump bought more than $100 million in bonds since January. President Trump has purchased at least $103 million worth of corporate and municipal bonds since taking office in January, according to new filings from the Office of Government Ethics. Now, again, I'm sure that we're not going to be able to believe the reporting from the Office of Government Ethics, right? You see why we talk about this often, how dangerous this is, this complete distrust in anything unless it's a True Social post or unless it's the talking heads? The documents released earlier this week show that Trump began the bond buying spree one day after being sworn in on January 20th and include debt sold by companies, local governments and entities that could be directly impacted by his sweeping agenda. All said, Trump made about 690 purchases from January 21st through August 1st. The active trading by a president of the United States is unprecedented and puts Trump in a direct position to benefit or lose if any of the entities that own the bonds he's purchased succeed or fail. It's also another example of Trump pursuing business endeavors and transactions to increase his wealth while serving in office. Remember, yesterday, I took you through the exercise where he's enriched himself and his family to the tune of $3.6 billion. We've got the receipts. We know that, right? We know it. How do you notice? I want people to notice, the things that Trump wants to call out as fake news. He does it in a way that is easy to distract his base who doesn't bother to looking into things. There's been no pushback from him for him enriching himself $3.6 billion because a lot of the information is public. So there's not much he can do, right? There's not much he can say or do. On January 21st, Trump purchased a bond belonging to the New York Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority. A week later, Trump purchased another handful of bonds over consecutive days. Those bonds belong to various municipal hospitals, facilities, airports, regional development funds, and school districts from Florida to Alaska. The filings do not provide exact purchase amounts, but instead show a broad dollar range for each transaction. The filings did not show any sales. Trump's buying continued at a steady clip for months, including bonds from the mega bank Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, and Citigroup worth at least $100,000 each. Trump's direct ownership of bonds from three of the nation's banking giants who get fucking tax breaks also comes as he considers an eventual replacement for Fed Chair Jerome Powell and weeks after he nominated one of his top aides, Stephen Moran, to a seat on the Fed's board. The Fed can directly affect a bank's profit by lowering or raising interest rates, along with a myriad of regulatory actions. As a Fed governor, Moran would have a direct say in many of those actions. The filings also show that Trump purchased at least $250,000 of Meta's bonds. CEO Mark Zuckerberg attended the inauguration and made a $1 million donation to the event. Likewise, Trump's ownership in hundreds of municipal bonds puts him in line to benefit when those municipal entities pay back the debt, and comes at a time when the administration has been tightly controlling the distribution of funds from the federal government to local and regional governments. Trump's net worth currently sits at around $5.5 billion, including an increase of $3.6 billion since Inauguration Day. Typically, a president divests their financial assets before or shortly after entering office, but Trump has rejected that precedent and retained most of his empire since his first term in office. Corruption? I don't even know how we can, that's even just a mild adjective. Again, he will benefit. He's manipulating his own wealth because he's in a position to either put new people in place to do what he wants and or create positive or negative elements in our economy where he will continue to enrich himself. So once again, blatant corruption to the next level. Crazy. We'll get into it more in a little bit. I have a request though. Good morning, Meredith. How are you today? Meredith? Might have just been I'm the progressive in your pocket. Oh, sorry. That was completely rude. My apologies. Should not have done that. Hello, Squid. How are you today? Oh, Squid didn't want to play either. Anyway, just more and more examples of blatant corruption. Now, the question I want to ask, right, is this is a fair question that I'm going to ask MAGA. All right, it's okay. Don't worry, Meredith. No problem. You guys got all up in your shit around Hunter Biden and what, $12 million? That was the question mark of Burisma payments. $12 million, right? Investigated. No one ever showed receipts. That was the allegation made. Investigated. Hunter's cock shows up on the floor of the House. You guys get all excited about that. Not judging, just sharing. All that kerfuffle. Anger about Joe Biden this, Joe Biden that. What about Biden? Joe Biden, why did he enrich himself? Why is his net worth over $10 million when he left office? Oh, because he wrote a book. 3 books, he and his wife. We have the receipts. But not a peep from you. Not a peep from you. If you claim, again, another conservative bullshit lie, if you claim and care about government corruption, then where the fuck are you right now? Why are you not questioning this? Why are you not questioning it? Your argument, and this is my concern, This is unprecedented. It's never happened before. Your argument is like, well, I don't know why it can't happen. It is blatant fucking corruption. It's right there in front of you. The President of the United States and his family have enriched themselves to the tune of $3.6 billion that we know of. That we know of. And now this, purchasing bonds that he stands to enrich himself even more. And he did it starting on day one of his administration. Now, are you going to say that the Government Ethics Office is part of the deep state? Do you see why your arguments just die on the vine? It's crazy. I know Kushner got $2 billion. That's exactly right. Just the level of corruption is just mind-boggling. Where are you guys? Where are you champions? Where are the people that were screaming for 4 years about the Biden crime family? Where the fuck are you now? Do any of you have any courage whatsoever? Or are you just going to curl up in your little bullshit balls of patriotism and claim that he's a man for the job? He's ripping you off. He's enriching himself on the back of the American taxpayer and lying to your face about it. Hundreds of millions of dollars he stands to gain with a blatant corruption scheme. And now you're celebrating the fact that the financial penalty for his civil fraud conviction in New York is gone. What? Come on. Yeah, you're right. That's the crime. The crime is you don't give a shit. The crime is conservatives don't give a shit. You don't care. You just don't fucking care. All right. So I'm sure that story is going to come up again, but I got some other things I want to talk about today. So do you guys recall when there was reporting that just a couple days ago that the president was going to go out on patrol DC alongside law enforcement? That he's going to what? He's going to vest up. He's going to get his Walmart badge too and walk the streets with law enforcement. That's what Caroline Leavitt told us. The statement, President Trump said Thursday he would join law enforcement and National Guard troops on patrol in DC. Quote, I'm going to be out tonight with the police and the military. Of course, Trump told conservative radio host Todd Starnes. The outing did not appear on Trump's public schedule, released late on Wednesday. Asked for more details, a White House official granted anonymity to speak, candidly told Politico they would be forthcoming. Okay. What actually happened was not that. Just like I'm going to march to the Capitol with you. I'm going to go on the streets of DC. I'm going to patrol with law enforcement. All it was a fucking PR stunt. So people could suck the D. That's all it was. Stood there, grabbed the microphone, and then started talking about this. Ooh, hold on a second.
In Washington.
Here you go.
We're all coming in, and people are now coming in. They're making reservations to come in. They want to be in Washington, D.C. One of the things we're going to be redoing is your parks. I'm very good at grass because I have a lot of golf courses all over the place. I know more about grass than any human being, I think, anywhere in the world.
What?
And we're going to be regrassing all of your parks, all brand new sprinkler systems, the best that you can buy, just like Augusta. It'll look like Augusta. It'll look like, more importantly, Trump National Golf Club. That's even better. But we're going to have all brand new, beautiful grass. You know, like everything else, grass has a life. Do you know that? Grass has a life.
Grass
you know,
has a
we
life.
have a life and grass has a life. And the grass here died about 40 years ago. So we're going to be rebuilding all of your parks, and it's going to happen fast. It's going to go up like a miracle.
The President of the United States standing there surrounded by sycophantic followers, telling the American public that I know more about grass than any human being in the world. And Biden was in cognitive decline. He is an expert at everything. Do I still have it? Is it time, guys? It might be. Hold on. Yeah, it's time. Sorry, I got to do it again.
Big study the other day, and they called all of the great intellects and the great economists and all of the great everything, and it was 71, and only 2 got it right, me and another gentleman that happens to be very smart. 69 people got it wrong, and the Fed got it wrong, more wrong than anybody. And he has these think tanks, and they build buildings for people that think. A little bit of combination of thinking, but it's something you sort of have or you don't have.
So when he goes to the think tank, he thinks about grass, apparently. People are starving in our country. There's a report from, where is this? I just want to make sure I have the data and the information correctly. Hold on. People are starving. People are losing their health care. People are losing jobs. And our president is standing there talking about grass in DC. John Deere just recently announced hundreds of layoffs. Legacy tractor maker John Deere has announced layoffs at 3 Midwestern facilities as the company grapples with declining sales and the effects of tariffs on its bottom line. Quote, the struggling AG economy continues to impact orders for John Deere equipment, the company said in a statement. This is a challenging time for many farmers, growers, and producers, and directly impacts our business in the near term. While the full implications of the tariffs on the U.S. economy are still being established, representatives of the agricultural sector have warned that the new duties could increase their costs and threaten footholds in key export markets. As John Deere, whose products are primarily aimed at farmers, said in its announcement, difficulties in the agricultural sector will continue to ripple through its operations and finances. Harvester works in East Moline, Illinois. 115 workers. Last day of work is a week from today. Seeding and Cylinder in Moline, Illinois. I think it's Moline or Moline. My apologies. I'll say Moline. Seeding and Cylinder in Moline. 52 workers. Last day of work, September 26th. Foundry in Waterloo, Iowa. 71 workers. Last day of work, September 19th. John Deere told Newsweek the workforce reductions were the result of decreased demand, lower order volumes, and tariffs. On Friday, the company released its third quarter results, which showed a 26% year-over-year drop in net income to $1.3 billion and a 9% decline in net sales and revenues to $12 billion. In a subsequent earnings call, the company attributed many of these difficulties to lower commodity prices and the effects of tariffs. Moline, thank you. Appreciate that. Moline, got it. Thank you. Moline, I appreciate you guys. Moline, not like Jolene. Got it. Thank you. So here we are. Your president talking about grass. Your president talking about think tanks. Your president paving over the grass in the Rose Garden because grass has a life. And companies, American companies, blue collar. I mean, think about an American company. I mean, I think many of us would put John Deere on that list. If you ask somebody to kind of go through a list of some of the top 5 true American brands, you might think about Harley Davidson. You could think about Chevy and Ford. You would put John Deere on that list. A couple of hundred employees are losing their jobs within the next 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, as directly as a result of declining sales in the agriculture industry and tariffs. Coca-Cola, sure. Another one. Budweiser, agreed. Put them on the list, right? Agreed. Here we go. Here we go. And yet your president out on the street talking about grass and think tanks, talking about grass and think tanks. He's enriched himself and his family to the tune of $3.6 billion. And we just learned that in an unprecedented criminal spree, he's purchasing up bonds. that his policies, especially if he's able to influence the Fed to lower rates, will enrich himself even more. I don't care if you believe me. I don't give a shit. I really don't care if you do. I'm not expecting you to all of a sudden become a woke liberal. I am just asking you, MAGA, to accept the fact that you've been lied to for years about all this shit. Again, conservatives are always the problem. We're going to get into that more in just a few minutes. But a tried and true American company, John Deere, hemorrhaging, not only on the hardware side, the farm equipment, but because farmers are losing a lot of their workers. Okay, before I bring this up, drum roll for legend, because the dude is killing it. Life in a think tank. Oh my God. Yeah, that is savage. Thank you, bro. I appreciate you. Most people won't get it. I mean, I probably get a little too giddy when I think about it, but it's just funny to me. Anyway, we'll bring that back up again. So is anybody, I mean, can anybody in MAGA of the 15 or 20 million, whatever it is, I'm just watching these lives in these spaces. And again, it's weird that they always talk about how they're suppressed, right? I mean, we get roughly between 1,000 and 1,200 people in our lives every single day. And we're talking about things that's informational. And I really appreciate when you guys refer to me as like an independent journalist. I'll take that. I take it proudly. I take it with honor, and I'll do the work for you. And then you go to MAGA Lives, and there's 9 people in a panel, and there's 15 people watching, and they're all uttering the exact same bullshit that comes from Trump himself. And they expect people to believe what they're talking about is true. And then when we call them out on it, they've got nowhere to go. Everything is fake news. The numbers are wrong. The science is wrong. The data is wrong. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How can you deny the fact that he has enriched himself to the tune of $3.6 billion? How can you deny the fact that his own son said we get all the money that we need from Russia? How can you deny the fact that the decision by the appeals court in New York yesterday only removed the financial penalty? Everything else is still in place. The 5-judge panel confirmed, dude, you're still a fraudster. You still did all these things. We just don't think you should have to pay all this money. Why is it so difficult? Like I said earlier, you got 2 sides of the issue. I'm going to sit here and say he is still a fraudster. And MAGA's like, no, he ain't. The judge said you're no longer a fraudster. Okay, how do we break the tie? Well, you can't. There ain't no tie to break because the judge said that. Okay, well, I think that he's still a fraudster. Well, that don't matter because the judge said he ain't. Is that what the judge said? How do you break the tie? You break the tie by going to what the actual decision is. And because you guys won't read it, you're just going to take the headline. You should spend some time in a think tank. You know, seriously. You should spend a little bit of time in the think tank. It might do you some good. Everybody, please keep tapping and sharing. Don't forget, we are crowdfunded here. You want to support the channel, you can do so. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, all at Factsstillmatter. And if you haven't had a chance, head on over to factsstillmatter.site, Facts HQ, check out some of the merch, including I Am Fucking Zen. By the way, just again, as a reminder, or I should say, a recap from yesterday, had a chance to speak to, hopefully, Alabama's next governor, Dr. Will Boyd. You'll find the link to Will's Act Blue in the link tree that's in my bio. It's a great spot to support him. So again, here we are, right? Here we are. We've got an American company losing jobs. Every single economist, again, here, let's this sound, I just want to listen to the first part of this again. I promise I won't do this all day, but I think it's
did a big study the other day, and they called all of the great intellects and the great economists and all of the great everything, and it was 71, and only 2 got it right, me and another gentleman.
Okay, so if he's referring to 71, 69 of them got it exactly right as to what was going to happen. 69 of them got it exactly right, right? You and some other unnamed person were the ones that got it wrong. Now, we know that because of the people in your own cabinet recently. Howard Nutlick, Scott Bessent have all talked about the same thing. We know the impact of tariffs are hitting American consumers. We know it. The world knows it. In fact, MAGA, even you guys know it because you're seeing it. But remember this. So whenever it's bad, this is what's going to happen.
I think the good parts are the Trump economy and the bad parts are the Biden economy.
How long are we going to have to live in that bubble? When prices continue to go up and when retailers, big box companies, corporations tell you that, yeah, these prices are going up because of tariffs, and you're still going to say, oh, Biden did that. Biden's running the government. Wait, Biden's running the government? Well, no, Trump is. Why is it Biden? Because it's Biden. Biden's licking ice cream from the beach. He's doing it. Like, what? Seriously, how long are you going to live in that bubble? How long are you going to just deny what we're seeing right in front of us? Now, I know that you've got Hunter's cock as wallpaper. Maybe stop looking at it for 5 minutes, okay? Please. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. 5 minutes. 2 minutes. MAGA men, you only need a minute anyways. Let's be real. Okay. Good morning. How are you?
Well, I've got him a man cold currently.
Sorry about that. What can I do for you?
I don't disagree with really anything you're saying as far as the facts of what's going on. But as a centrist, as a left-leaning centrist at that, I've got to ask the question. Looking at the big picture of things, what you're saying about today is the same thing we said about Bush. It's the same thing they said about Clinton and Obama.
Can you be specific though? Like what specifically are you talking about?
Well, just the back and forth rhetoric with Clinton. It was with Bill Clinton. It's the left was happy, but the right was all upset and trying to find any fact they could to discredit him.
Okay, but again, sir, I'm just asking you to try to narrow your conversation. I don't know what you're talking about. Can you be specific? So you requested up, you wanted to say something. So if I said something that upset you or triggered you, what are we talking about here?
No, look, I am trying to specifically look at the big picture of the last 80 years. Not
okay, what's the big picture? What's the big picture then?
The big picture is we have, instead of getting things done in Congress, and we have become a Jerry Springer show.
Who's the we?
Both the left and the right. We are the guest on Jerry Springer. We're fighting each other over some of the
Why is that? Why is that?
Because we can't find a way to get along in the middle. We can't find.
Okay, but why are we fighting with each other? Why are we fighting this way? As opposed to that way?
Because TV and ratings and money have become more important than people.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that statement. But again, that's not the bigger why. So so who's the threat? Are immigrants a threat?
No. Immigrants are just
are drag queens a threat?
No.
Are members of the LGBTQIA a threat?
No.
Are marginalized communities the threat? The disabled are black communities, are they the threat?
No.
Who's the threat?
What you're trying to get at is who's to blame, not the threat.
Yeah, who's the threat? Who's threatening our way of life?
Sorry, again, trying to.
It's okay. So again, who's the threat? Who is threatening our way of life? Who is it?
We are, all of us.
No.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. I get where you're coming from. the YTs and look, hang on, the YTs and the reality of what we live in is evil at this moment. Yes.
No,
but
that's part of it. But again, hold on. The billionaire class, corporations, the 1%, they're the threat. They are the threat. They are the ones that are being advantaged. They are the ones that get bailed out by your and my taxpayer dollars every time there's an economical dip. They're the ones that are the threat. It's not right versus left. It's become right versus left by design with Russian influence to destabilize our democracy so that people are talking about exactly what you just brought up. The threat is the top down, not the right left.
You're right, but at the same time, we still need them. It's schoolyard bully. It's schoolyard bullying from the fact that, yes, they are the bully, and they're coming in and they're messing with us and hitting us. And at some point, yes, you have to hit back. But at what point? Look at Martin Luther King Jr. as a microcosm of culturalness. At no point did he lead in a way that was against the authoritarian by becoming an authoritarian. He didn't. Well,
conservatives, but conservatives are the ones that are susceptible to authoritarianism. We're going to talk about that. I want to go back to what we were just discussing because this is important. First of all, tell me who you voted for last election.
I voted for Kamala.
Okay, so
go ahead. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
The threat is the billionaire class, corporations, oligarchs, the entitled, the elite, the rich. They are the threat. They are the ones that are, the wealth gap has increased exponentially since the 80s, and it just gets wider and wider and wider and wider. Now, what you're saying, what you're alluding to is what they wanted to happen. They want us to fight with each other. They want us to argue over culture wars so that they can continue to enrich themselves. That's the threat. And again, that threat has been propagated by people like Vladimir Putin because he knows the biggest threat to what he wants is the United States. So by destabilizing the U.S. democracy, he gets exactly what he wants. That's the threat.
Yes. But what I'm talking about is how. But what I'm talking about is how do we deal with the threat instead of looking at it as a threat and looking at it as blame. What I'm saying is, like with trickle down in economics, with the big, beautiful piece of crap.
Correct.
The one thing that upset me the most about the Democratic Party fighting it is they kept trying to convince us about the healthcare. They kept trying to convince us about the healthcare. And while all that is absolutely important, while all that is absolutely correct, my thought process kept going to, well, instead of pulling on the rope so that the Republicans can let it go at the last second and make us look like idiots, because I think visually, sorry, I'm an ADHD and visual thinker, so everything's in metaphors. But instead of having to play tug of war and having the Republicans let it go at the last second, why didn't we just fix the problem, the one and only problem with trickle-down economics, which is greed?
How would you do that? How would
simple,
you do that?
With that big, beautiful bill, what you could have done is you could have put in containments
How would have Democrats done that? How?
If they had said, okay, we will vote unanimously for this bill if you put this in, which is simple, hang on, I know
hold on a second, working. Hold on, bro. Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, again, I understand what you're saying, but you are living in a world of normal politics as usual, where there are opportunities for bipartisan legislation. Do you really think that MAGA Republicans in 2025, under the direction of Donald Trump, would introduce legislation that would have the president sign that would, for example, cap corporate greed or go after price gouging? Do you know who did want to do that? That would have been Kamala Harris. So what you're talking about are fine. Those are great things to talk about, but you're not living in reality because that would have not happened. Because again, if Republicans cared about that, They would have introduced the legislation themselves, right?
Oh, I don't disagree, but I've got to hold out hope. This tug of war we're in is not the answer any more than what you're talking about either. This aggressiveness that we're having back and forth with each other is that we're doing what they want us to do, like you said. So we have to find a different way to address it.
Why? Why can't we just call it out? You want a solution? Here's a solution for you. Here's a solution. Elect progressives.
And then what?
Elects progressives. Progressives are doing the things that you are talking about. Price gouging controls, taxing corporations, taxing the rich, introducing legislation for universal health care, expanding the courts, doing away with Citizens United. Those kinds of things. That's what progressives want.
Okay, that's all great. But I'm trying to also think of the other side of the coin, because Obama was probably one, and Bill Clinton, both were probably two of the most progressive presidents we had, and both of them
Absolutely not even close. I would say Joe Biden is more progressive than Bill Clinton.
Well, point is
because of the legislation.
Compared to the time frame and who was running and stuff, comparatively, at the time, even Bill Clinton would be considered progressive versus what we were dealing with then. What I'm saying,
no, Bill Clinton is a centrist like you.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, even a centrist, when you're fighting, can be. Well, look, we're getting down into the weeds, and what I'm trying to point out is, look at Obama when he was president, the progressives, the Democrats, the liberals, the LGBTQ, everybody was happy, but the other side of the coin.
Do you represent any of those communities? How can you say they were happy?
I'm talking in general. I'm talking in generalizations. Again,
well,
I understand that's
don't speak for communities that you don't represent.
Well, as a bisexual man, I'm pretty sure I can speak for LGBTQ. But anyway, my point is
for yourself, sure.
Yeah,
so you said happy. So those communities are still under threat by conservatives, right? So
yes.
I want to land the plane here because I don't think. No, hold on, bro. Hold on.
Yeah.
What you are describing is exactly what destabilizing our democracy looks like, because you are trying to blame the other side for something. And what I'm saying, there's a lot of blame that can be levied on conservatives, but don't forget, conservatives live in the Democratic Party as well. I think all conservatives are part of the problem. I don't put a party affiliation on a conservative. You are either a conservative, meaning you want to either keep things status quo, which are maybe centrist Democratic conservatives, don't want to go too far, or MAGA conservatives, which want to go back 50 years. I want progress. I want to move society forward. And we can't do that as long as the ruling class wants us fighting over each other. Case in point, what I went through this morning, our president enriching himself and his family to the tune of $3.6 billion, and he's continuing the grift. And his base is fighting over houselessness. We're arguing about people's human rights and dignity while they are ripping us the fuck off. So again, who's the threat?
Again, we're dehumanizing people, yes. And what did they do?
Who's dehumanizing people?
We've already agreed that it's the rich.
So then that's where your energy should be.
And then what? We're just creating more zealots on both sides?
Zealot? You think a zealot is somebody who wants to defend human rights and move society forward?
No.
You think that's a zealot?
What I'm thinking is, we punch them, they punch us. We punch them, they punch us. It's back and forth and back and forth. It's never.
What's the alternative
as a
then?
Society, we can't get progressiveness unless we figure out a way to energize the center.
No, the center's the problem. Our country, idealistically, people support a woman's right to their body. People support responsible gun legislation. People support taxing the rich. People support universal health care. Those are things that progressives want. The majority of the country, even a lot of Republicans and independents, support that too. So my advice to you, and I'm going to move on, you're stuck in the centrist bubble. You are convinced that there can never be resolutions, and that's called laziness. That's apathetic politics. Stop thinking you can't make change and do something about changing it. Okay? Thanks for being here today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's part of the same argument that we always bang into, guys. Like, this is why I label conservatives as part of the whole pile, if you will, right? Stop thinking that we can't change it. Because as soon as you do that, like I can sit up, people ask me all the time, Steve, do you think there's going to be an election next year? If I sat up here right now and said to you guys, I don't think there's going to be an election next year, then what the fuck is the point? We've got to hold out hope. We've got to fight, right? This is a fight. This is on us. I refuse to settle for table scraps. I don't want somebody coming to me and saying, I'm going to run on a platform where we expand the ACA. I'd be like, move on. Oh, you don't want to expand the ACA? No, I don't. I want universal fucking healthcare because I'm on the ACA. And guess what? Because of changes to the policy from the Trump administration, I'm likely going to lose my health insurance. I'm in that gray area with so many people, self-employed, too poor for Medicare, Medicaid, can't afford private insurance. So the ACA is my option. I don't want table scraps. I don't. The culture war that the right accuses the left of, they started. JC, how the fuck would you know? I just sent you an invite, JC. You said it in all caps, so obviously you want some attention. Are you aware of my healthcare situation, JC? Probably not, right? Yeah, I didn't think so. Again, friends, that's an example of how I think moderates and conservatives in this place. You cannot be fiscally conservative and socially liberal. You just can't. You just can't. Here's why. It's one thing to be around your house to say, I'm a conservative spender, like I support the rights of others, but I'm conservative how I spend my money. That's fine around your house. But from the politics perspective, you can't be. You can't be. You cannot be fiscally conservative and socially liberal. Because to make social change requires investment. And then you have to ask yourself, what kind of country do I want? I want overfunding of public education. I want universal health care. I want taxation changes. Those are things that the majority of people want. Now, we could change it to say, because universal health care is a big scary for the tough alpha guys. Super scary. Again, you guys, you're afraid of flags. You're afraid of blue hair. You're afraid of health care, whatever. So let's change it. I don't call whatever the hell you want. I don't care. Practical health insurance. I don't give a fuck. Rebrand it if we have to. I don't give a shit. Right? I don't care. We're not going to get there because conservatives on both sides of the political aisle are keeping us from getting there because of big dollar donors on their side. They don't care. The right loves to use Nancy Pelosi as the biggest stock trader in Congress. Not even close. Our president has just surpassed her and others because he's now part of numerous insider trading opportunities. Not only is he part of it, he's the one that's going to influence it. So why are people so afraid of progress? Again, that statement about at the time, Bill Clinton was considered progressive, but not. I mean, again, I look at legislation because words are just words. The Biden administration passed some of the most progressive policies that we've ever seen. And Joe Biden is a Reagan Democrat, okay? But again, from a policy perspective, things that he did for the climate, things that he did for rights of others, those are progressive policies. But he's not a progressive. His policies just happen to be more progressive. You see what I mean? There's a difference. Why is it so difficult for people to just say, again, the conservative lie that's been told to us? We're going to get into it in just a minute. The conservative lie that's been told to us. The conservative movement's about small business? About small government? No, it's not. No, it's not. Not even close. Not even close. I see Danny. Not even close. Give me a break. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good morning, friend. I am well. Your last centrist gentleman kind of irked my nerves.
They drive me nuts.
Yeah, I think the first thing that made me push the button was when he brought up MLK. I would love for everyone who wants to talk about what protest should look like, what demonstration should look like, what resistance should look like, to keep MLK Jr.'s name out your fucking mouth. Because most of the time, you have no clue what he experienced, what he went through, what he actually believed and did. Like, if you really want to get a glimpse, just go read his letter when he was sitting in jail in Birmingham, Alabama, when he tells you exactly what the deal is. He tells you people are not giving up their privileges unless you demand it. You must put on pressure. You must. So I don't want to hear this. Democrats are part of the issue, whatever. The Democratic Party, let me be clear about the party and its ridiculous, dumbass messaging. They have an issue with that, 100%. I'll give you that. Sure. I will give you the fact that the Democratic Party needs to outline its agenda, figure out what the fuck it really stands for, and let the people know. Because that's the problem. You've got centrist Democrats like the one that was just on your panel. You've got liberal Democrats like yourself and I, and nobody knows what the Democratic Party is supposed to look like. So it's pretty easy. Just identify what I think most of us would agree, which you already named, Steve, right? We believe that women should have autonomy over their body. We believe that everybody should have access to affordable, safe, effective health care. We believe that children should be able to go to school safe. We believe that we should stop spending billions and billions and billions of dollars on weapons when we're not taking care of our children, and people should have houses.
Danny, stop being so damn radical for wanting all those things.
Right? And this is what I'm saying is, if people simply said it in that way, because this is the problem that I have with the Democratic Party, is they say stuff in such a dumb way, like defund the police. I just want to throat punch whoever came up with that, because it's the dumbest shit ever. And you knew nobody was getting on board. But I want to address something else he said. Oh, if they had just proposed an amendment to that big, beautiful bill, and said that they would all vote for it, bullshit. And I'll tell you why we know that's not true. They introduced an amendment to one of the bills about spending of dollars for deportation of American citizens that could include American citizens. And all the Democrat wanted to do was include an amendment that says we will not use any of this money to deport American citizens, and they wouldn't even put that in the bill. So do not tell me that, these folks are not reasonable. You said it right. No. He's talking about when we were in like a normal world of politics. That world does not exist anymore. And anybody that is sitting in the center thinking that it does, you're probably a bigger part of the problem for me than MAGA. Agreed.
Centrist leftists, centrist Democrats they're conservative. Again, I talk about this a lot. You may have heard me talk about this, Danny. I look at it as conservatives versus progressives, because there are conservatives in the Democratic Party as well. I think the person that we just spoke to, for example, afraid of progress. They might have a better moral compass. They might want to support the rights of women and things like that, but they're not willing to go far enough to do it. They'll settle for table scraps. So you were either for progress or you're against it. Right. Seriously, I don't think it's any more complicated than that. I look at the Democratic Party as public transportation. It's going to get me closer to where I want to go. I'm a pragmatic progressive. Okay, I understand politics. I get it. I've worked in it. I'm connected to it. I understand it. I know what the means to an end to me is. Democrats, sadly, because of status quo Democrats, I don't like. But I want things I'm not going to get it from the conservatives on the right, and I'm not going to get it from conservatives in the middle on the left. I want progress. I want gun reform. I want universal health care. I want to overfund public education. I want to pay teachers more. I want to overturn Citizens United. I want responsible firearm legislation.
100%.
So fucking radical.
Yeah. And for the person in the comments who said, oh, worse than MAGAs, is she kidding? No, I'm not fucking kidding. And I'll tell you why. I've actually so if you are a center Democrat, that means you should fucking know better. So like MAGA.
Exactly.
I am from Northeast Tennessee, where it is 96% white, where I'm from, the county. It's the 9th largest county in Tennessee, by the way. It is 99.9% Christian, and it's about 86 to 90% Republican, depending upon what day, right? So when I say I know MAGA, I do quite well. What I also am able to do, believe it or not, is have productive conversations with MAGA when you can break through the noise. The problem that I have with centrist Democrats is you already know. You already know the issues and you already know what the problem is, and you're still sitting there like you're the worst type of person. You know that the house is about to burn down, but you're not like, oh, let's get everybody out of the house. It's, oh no, we should do it this way and we should do it. No, listen. Yes, we need to say it in a way that is more inclusive, because I think we can do that. I really do.
Agreed.
And at the same time, I am tired of, I'm not compromising. It's 10 toes
Agreed.
down with my chest out, willing to unalive on this hill. And you either get the fuck on board or you get out of the way, because we've got work to do. And we don't have, listen, folks, you've got about 14 months of a damn democracy left if we don't get our shit together. Period. So
Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
just saying. So sorry to go on a little rant, but it pissed me off.
You never need to apologize to me, my friend. Hell no. I love it. Bring it.
I was just like,
That's the problem, though. I mean,
and I would lay money.
no,
he's
I
white.
get it.
I would lay money. He's white.
Oh,
And here's
Agreed.
my thing. And not, listen, white people, don't be offended, but here's my thing. I especially want white people to keep MLK Jr.'s name out your mouth. Please, unless
Agreed.
you are Loki Mulholland or his mama, shut the fuck up about that as well, because you don't know. And matter of fact, his niece said that. His niece said, stop using him as the example. You want to know why? Because when that man was alive and breathing, y'all wanted him unalive. When that man was alive and breathing, you jailed him. You made him one of the most wanted. You talked about what a danger he was. He was a communist. He was all of the things. And so, before, like, I know it's 2025 and we've all had this revelation. What I know about people who make good, necessary trouble, they can get days named after them and they can get awards and centers, but only after they're no longer on this earth causing that good and necessary trouble.
preach.
So
Preach. I love you, sister. Appreciate
Love
you
you
very
back.
much. Are you going live? Are you going live today?
I am. I will be live at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
We will send a bunch of people over there to celebrate you. I appreciate you being here, friend. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate you too. Thank you so much.
Bye, Danny. She's right? Like we always say, it's all men until it's no men. I also say it's all white people until it's no white people. Plain and simple. People in this chat, because you guys are the smartest chat there is on TikTok. You're not offended by that. Friends, she's right. We have 14 months. Now, I was asked this question yesterday. Do I think that I don't think our country will ever be the same, right? And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, to be honest. So the Overton window, the pendulum is going to swing, right? And the right is so afraid of everything. And I was having this conversation with Dr. Boyd yesterday, and I asked that question, right? About how we get into this, how we got to move the needle, about people voting against their best interests. And I don't necessarily prescribe to that voting against your best interest, because I don't think people see it that way on the right, especially the moral majority on the right. I think they see it for preservation of their whiteness, quite frankly. They don't like the fact that our society is becoming more diverse. They don't like the fact that there's more women in positions of power, although not nearly enough. They don't like the fact that the LGBTQIA community is getting a stronger voice. They just don't like it. They won't admit it. I wish they just would. I wish they would just say, yeah, I'm a white supremacist and I really don't like diversity and equity and I'm going to hold on to it. The Jordan Peterson philosophy, or who's that other guy? We played his sound before. Like, it would just make the conversation a lot easier. At least we'd know. But why is it so difficult to just accept the fact that the majority of our country, our citizenry, supports the things that I talk about? I have been called every name in the book. I want you to think about the things that I care about, okay? I believe that healthcare, food, water, and shelter are human rights. I think everybody in every Middlesex village and town across the globe should be able to have access to healthcare, food, water, and shelter. And I'm called a radical extremist for that. Like, healthcare, food, water, shelter. That's it. I would want I don't care what your political affiliation is. I don't care. I don't care about where you grew up. I don't care about the color of your skin. I just believe every human being on earth should exactly basic human necessity. And we fight about that shit because the corporations, the money, the 10%, the 5%, the 1% want us to, because they know if they can create this cultural divide, if they can separate us on the basic human needs, that they can continue to rip us off. Conservatives, not just Republicans, conservatives, AIPAC lobby, billions of dollars, our taxpayer dollars, MAGA, in case you didn't know this, our taxpayer dollars go to support universal health care and abortion rights for citizens in Israel. Did you know that? Folks, you should be demanding this shit. Don't let your politicians tell you we can't afford it. Don't. Don't let them tell you that we can't afford to have universal health care. Do not let them tell you that we can't afford to overfund public education. I want to overfund public education so much so that I want communities saying, we are good. We don't need any more money. Instead, teachers have to create fucking Amazon wish lists. Teachers who spend our unexpected angels today, I've done this before, I'm going to do it again because school's starting. Our unexpected angels today are teachers everywhere. Caregivers, secondary educators, nursery school teachers, kindergarten, daycare providers, all of them. You have been harmed by our politics in this country, and I am sorry from the bottom of my heart. I'm so fucking done with having to fight for table scraps for educators. I want the Department of Education to have so much money that's allocated to support public schools that it blows the defense budget out of the fucking water. It doesn't have to come from raising property taxes. It just has to come from what kind of country do you want? Do you want to commit to saying, here's a perfect example of America First. Here's a perfect example of making America great again. America First to me would be, we have the best public schools in the world. We have the most highly paid, highly accredited teachers in the world. We have the best access for every children, small town, underserved communities. They have everything they need, and they always will. That is America First. We have the best, most affordable healthcare system in the world. We guarantee healthcare to every one of our citizens. Everyone. That's America First. We have the best programs for a social safety net. We guarantee dignity in the workforce. We guarantee it. That's America First. None of this, we got to saber rattle and fucking wag our fucking dicks and show our military might. I don't give a flying fuck if a B-2 bomber flies overhead. I want kids to be fucking fed. I want children to have food. I want people to have shelter. I want people to have water, healthcare. I don't give a fuck about the F-35. I don't give a fuck. Don't give a shit about any of it. Don't care. The lie from conservatives for decades has been peace through strength. No, I say peace through education. I say peace through healthcare. I say peace through providing basic needs to everyone. And if that makes me a radical, then I'll get a fucking R tattooed across my body. Bring it on. So fucking done with this table scrap bullshit. No more. Fight's on, friends. Thank you for letting me be myself. Hi, Angel. How are you?
Hi, I'm so glad you brought me up. Yes, I completely agree with everything you're saying. And Danny, I love our live too. I'm on her live as well.
I've seen you there.
And I completely agree. But we are fighting a battle that I don't think our ancestors could ever say we ever fought before. They want to bring pew-pews to the streets, and people with no permit can just walk up and down the streets. That's just a dog whistle for more problems, more. I mean, have you heard that? I heard about it yesterday.
Yeah, I mean that's that. Yeah, we hear it all the time. Even in places where open carry and permitless carry are not allowed, people are still doing it and they're still getting away with it because nobody wants to address the fact that the Second Amendment, they don't give a fuck. They don't even understand what it means. They don't care, Angel. They don't care. This is my point. They just don't care.
Yeah, and then you have the mass unalivings in the streets, and then
Of course.
they don't change anything. Nothing changes. As far as the veterans, what they have done to the veterans is so disgraceful. Okay, It is so disgraceful. I mean, he has brought nothing but chaos into the streets of America right now. He is promoting chaos
By design.
and if nobody can see this, if you don't see this, you're blind and deaf and dumb.
But there's a
Something's
reason.
wrong with you.
There's a reason why, Angel. You know why he's doing it?
Mm-hmm.
It's because he is ripping off all of us.
Yeah, well, we know
That's
that.
why they're doing it. They want everybody to be afraid. They are telling people that you got to be afraid of black people. You got to be afraid of immigrants. You got to be afraid of the gay community, of the trans community. You got to be afraid of the disabled. You got to be afraid of women. Be afraid of all those things. And then the conservatives take the bait and they fight about it. And then they come on and they'll insult me and they'll send me death threats. They say they want to cut my head off. All this kind of shit. See it all day long, every single day. And I'm just like, oh, because I want to feed kids?
Right,
Okay.
right. He's dividing us again, like he did the first term.
Exactly.
And they didn't see it. There's some people out
thank you
here
for
that are so hateful. There are some people that are so hateful of anything that doesn't look like them that they want to, remove them. They don't want to be. They don't
Exactly
want to.
right.
They have no empathy for the homeless in this country. And who needs more assistance than the homeless?
Angel, I appreciate you for jumping in today. You're absolutely right. Thank you for being here very much. I appreciate you. I'll see you later.
Thank you.
Here's the perfect comment. Big Tommy, chat, do your thing. Big Tommy says, don't have kids if you can't pay for them. The government isn't the answer. Just think about what we just talked about this morning, and then that comment tells you everything that you need to know. Don't have kids if you can't pay for them. The government isn't the answer. So, Tommy, when you get your promised $600 rebate check from the Trump administration, I would fully expect you to donate that to Planned Parenthood, right? Because you don't need it, because you don't want to take a government handout. So next time your house is on fire or you need law enforcement, don't bother calling. Don't bother calling. You can do it yourself, right? Because you're just a big alpha. Got it. Table scraps. I am tired of table scraps. No more. No more. We got to fight for it, you guys. We got to fight for it. We have to fight hard for it, too. Like, extremely hard. Hi, Heather.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm all right. Thank you for asking.
I just wanted, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Bernie Sanders also put provisions in that, try to make provisions to the bill to protect people's health care, and they shut it down? I was pretty sure that Bernie Sanders was trying to make provisions to the big, beautiful bill to protect people's health care.
It's possible, but it's futile because, again, MAGA Republicans are just going to do whatever Trump tells them to do because they're enriching themselves as well.
Well, right. That's my point. He was like, that guy that was up here was saying that that the Democrats should have put provisions in the bill, and they tried. There was a lot of provisions that they tried to do, but they wouldn't budge on them. So what he was saying was that people needed to work together and they should have tried to make all these changes. But they did try to make all these changes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, I think that's the point. To me, Heather, and we've talked before, it just really boils down to what we want as a nation, right? It's really that question. And from where and I like to think I'm pretty smart, I'm pretty well read. From where I sit, the people who claim that they want all these freedoms, like again, the myth of conservatism, right? We're going to get into that in a little bit. The myth of conservatism are all these things that does not exist anymore on the conservative side of the aisle. We all should want better education. We all should want health care. We all should want a livable wage. We all should want affordable housing and shelter. So why then do so many people in our country literally vote against that? Do they not want those things either? They complain about it all the time. Things are too expensive. What would you like to pass some price gouging laws? Well, no, that's socialism. Well, I can't afford a house. Would you like to cap rent and mortgages? Well, no, that's socialism. Make up your mind. What do you want? Strong military and open and closed borders.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And the part that's like frustrating for me with a lot of what this guy was saying was he's like, well, we have to come together. Well, like we did try that, right? The Democrats tried to make provisions to the bill to make it better, and the Republicans shut it down. We tried that. We also didn't want to vote for it. Most, I don't know if it was every single, but most, didn't vote for it. Like, I don't understand this, like, idea that the left and the right are the same. But like you said, it's not really the left versus right. It's up versus down. It's the
Correct.
billionaires. And I don't understand why people are sorry, I can't talk this morning. I don't understand why people are rallying behind that, is my point, I guess.
Correct.
It just doesn't make any sense. And
Oh, it's by design. I mean, you know why, Heather, because it's been by design, because the conservatives do not have policies that support the people they claim to support.
exactly.
So they've got to come up with a culture war. They've got to find somebody to blame. Again, punching down on everyone is really what's happening. And they've created this myth that conservatism, the moral majority, the nuclear family, those are all things that should be important to everybody, yet they don't support it at all.
Exactly.
They don't support that in their messaging and in their politics.
Exactly. And it was like that guy you pointed out the comment who said that, don't have kids if you can't afford to feed them. But yet at the same time, I don't have rights to my body depending on what state I go to. So you're going to say,
Correct.
don't have kids if you can't afford them, but then also take away my right to decide if I want to have a kid or not.
Correct.
It's
Exactly.
so infuriating. It's so infuriating. These people,
It
and
is.
and not to like whatever, because I know that guy, but that guy is part of the problem. He's like, well, I voted for Kamala, so I'm a good guy. No, you're not, because
No,
you're
you're not.
sitting here saying like, well, we just need to kind of come together, and the Democrats, they didn't try to do all these things, which they did. They absolutely
Correct.
tried to make provisions to the bill. They absolutely tried to make changes so that things wouldn't get better. I mean, there's a video I watched on Felisa's live where Bernie Sanders was literally screaming at the top of his lungs, I don't know how you guys sleep at night, and they like basically dragged him off. Like, don't tell me that it's the same. It's not the same.
It's not. It's not even close. It's not even close. Thanks for jumping in today, friend. I appreciate you as always.
Thanks. One more question, Steve.
Yes. Yes.
What about Biden?
What about Biden? Thank you, Heather. I appreciate
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye. She's right. Right. You make a statement in the comments in this space, by the way. Thank you, chat, for doing what you do. You guys efficiently chewed him up. You say if you can't afford kids, don't have them, but yet you vote for policies that deny women's rights to their fucking body. You want to control women. If you can't afford kids, don't have them. Okay, I got pregnant. I can't afford to have a kid. Well, you can't have an abortion. What? What? Make it make sense. It doesn't. It just doesn't. And it never will until we get conservatives out of the fucking way. Marvelous. Good morning today. How are you?
Hi, Fax. I'm wonderful. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Mainly what you've been speaking about in terms of like the bare minimum, just giving people, medical and food and shelter, just the bare minimum. I don't think is discussed enough, really the long-term results in a whole society if we were to do that. Like, it would be exponential in all sectors, if we had smart people and people who are fed actually going to be able to finish school, it would improve the whole society.
Correct.
It's just like they don't
Correct.
think about the long-term effects.
Well, I think they do. And let me tell you why I think they do. Because they know that if the electorate becomes more educated about what's going on, they would never win elections again. And
Right.
their movement would die. So they intentionally want to keep people, uneducated. They intentionally want to keep people poor. They intentionally want to keep people misinformed so they can get away with all their shit.
Yeah, I agree. And that's about, the people
It is diabolical.
running things.
It's diabolical if you think about it. But it's the strategy, right? It's what's been happening for decades.
Right, but like the average guy who is posting don't have kids or commenting don't have kids, right? Those people don't understand that, I think.
Well, I think they understand what they think. Well, let me rephrase that. They are told these things, right? They're told that the issue is single mothers, or that the issue is a teen getting pregnant because, of course, it's her fault, right? That's what they think. That's what they've been told. And I can guarantee you, if you ask that guy if he's a churchgoer, he'll say, absolutely, I am. I'm a Christian.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
see what I mean? How the lines have, sure thing. The lines have been blurred so much between what conservatism used to be by definition and then what it's become. But thank you for being here, Marvelous. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you for service for us.
You got it. See you later. Appreciate that. Appreciate you saying that. Again, guys, I mean, I've said this a lot, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, and that's not my intention here, but we cannot fix this shit if we're just going to settle. So again, the question, I don't think America is going to be the same when we come out of this, and that may not necessarily be a bad thing. It may not be a bad thing. So the pendulum, we are, and I keep promising you, I will get to this. People who align with conservatism are much more susceptible to authoritarianism. In fact, they lean in on it. Like the same people who say that they want their freedom, they want their independence, they believe in states' rights, only though when it comes to things that they support, they're much more susceptible to it, right? So the counter to that, because if you think about it, if this is the center, the authoritarian pendulum is going to swing way the fuck over here. So do I think the pendulum can swing far back to the left? I think it's going to have to, right? I don't want to settle in the middle. I don't, because the middle is what? Loaded with conservatives. I'm really encouraging you guys to think about it differently. Just to ask yourself the question, what do you want your country to look like? Don't look for perfection. Stop thinking you're going to get your perfect candidate because they don't exist. And I don't want a perfect candidate because you want them to evolve with what's happening around them. You want them to change. You want them to be influenced by things, hopefully positive things, so that they can address it and then create legislation and policies and government to address it. Now, again, that's why I consider myself a pragmatic progressive. When I tell people like that, what? I'm like, then I explain it like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Again, Democratic Party to me is public transportation. It helps me get closer to where I want to go. I'm willing to walk the rest of the way. I'm willing to drag myself the rest of the way if I could. I'm fortunate because I'm a registered progressive in my state, the state that doesn't exist. We have a progressive party here that's got a very, very strong voice. So I'm fortunate. What do they stand for? Same things I talk about every single day. Same things I talk about every single day. Healthcare. And I cannot get MAGA just to stop the politicization of healthcare and just say, would you like to have affordable healthcare? Can't afford it. It's not what I asked. Would you like to have it? And they're just unwilling to say it. Think about that. Those same people would leave a conversation, go home, open up a bill from the doctor's office and be like, holy fuck, why the fuck do I have to pay so goddamn much for an aspirin? What? What? Really? Really? Okay. Did I cover off everything else I wanted to do? I think so. I think what I want to do now is kind of get into our topic of the day, because I think it's really, really important that we kind of understand our history, because when people talk about, making America great again, from my perspective, I mean, again, we've had these conversations many times. Somebody tell me when America was great for everyone, because we are all citizens of this country, whether MAGA wants to accept that or not. But when was it great for everyone? And from my perspective, it's never been great for everyone. And a lot of that, from my perspective, is because of conservatism. Conservatives holding back progress. It's by definition, right? It's by definition. I'm going to conserve it. Now, how do I want to say this? I think you can legitimately have a balance, right? If we go back, let me go back to what I prepared for you guys. I've been working on this for a while. So I've been adding to my notes as we go. But let's go back to what conservatism was, and what's happened to it now, because it's not what it was initially prescribed to be. All right. At its core, okay, traditionalism, we're talking strictly about U.S. conservatism, okay? At its core, think about this. This is what you hear from the right now, okay? And then the question we have to ask is that what it still is, okay? Traditionalism, social order, religious morality, patriotism, and then skepticism of rapid social change. Yeah. Social order, right? Could we consider that law and order to keep society in line, right? So when I read that, I was just like, yeah, that actually tracks, because those same people now do not want progress, want things to remain the same, right? Classic liberalism would be free markets, limited government, property rights, and individual liberty. So the conservatives claim things, or attempt to claim things, that were almost liberal-esque and or libertarian-esque, because libertarians, although they may not admit it, are more liberal. They really are, because they don't want government in their business. They want to be left alone. They think the government has a role, but they just don't want the role to be as hyperbolic as it is, as it's become. Anti-communism, right? This is, again, a conservative mindset. Anti-communism, national security hawkishness, a tough posture abroad, and strong defense. Yeah, I think that still holds true, right? But at the expense of what? And then populism. Distrust of elites. How funny is that? Distrust of elites, immigration restriction, trade skepticism, and then law and order. How ironic that a core tenet of conservatism, as our nation was being built, was a distrust of elites. They claim it, they talk about it, they blame the elites for everything, but yet here we are. Elites littered throughout Trump's cabinet. It was the last time, it was the first time, George Bush's connections to the oil industry, to the military industrial complex, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Let's talk about the burgeoning and or the growth of conservatism and how it's changed throughout various points of our history. From its founding to the Civil War, early conservatives weren't a party. Federalists and later Whigs favored order, commerce, and then national development. Reconstruction, so post-Civil War, through the early 1910s, the GOP was the party of unions, of industry, and on paper, black rights. Southern Democrats were conservatives on race and on federal power. So we're going to get into the party switch and the Southern strategy, of which the right will never accept actually happened. We've got proof. We can prove it. And there's a really, really simple way to prove it. All you got to do is look at an electoral map from pre-civil rights to post-civil rights, and which party carries the Confederate flag today. It's pretty simple. All right, New Deal from 1930s to 1940s. FDR's expansion of the federal government prompts a durable conservative critique. Big government threatens liberty and markets. So when you started to see a little bit of rhetoric saying, wait a second, this whole conservative mindset is really limiting free speech, right? So we got to be careful about that. Post-war rights from the 1950s to 1960s, as we are approaching the civil rights era. William F. Buckley, Barry Goldwater, and the modern conservative movement taking shape. Anti-communist, anti-New Deal, pro-states' rights. Realignment from the 60s to the 80s. Civil rights catalyzes the South's partisan shift. Evangelical moral majority, tax revolts, and business mobilization reshape the GOP. Okay? And then the Reagan era. Supply-side tax cuts, trickle-down economics, deregulation, anti-inflation resolve, assertive foreign policy, conservative ideas move from opposition to governing orthodoxy. Now that sounds really good on paper, right? Supply-side tax cuts, deregulation, anti-inflation resolve, assertive foreign policy at the expense of civil liberties, at the expense of the expansion of human rights, at the expense of individual liberties and rights. Okay? And then 2010s through today. Tea Party, sure enough, fiscal revolt, populist turn under Trump, immigration restrictions, tariffs, cultural grievance politics, skepticism of globalism, sometimes at odds with business-friendly conservatism. So it's been an evolution, right? It used to be on the, I'm not even going to say it used to be on the side of, but there was a pretty clear line. And again, we're talking about Southern Democrats, conservatives, the Strom Thurmond era, right? We're going to get into that in just a second. Okay. Now we go to the Civil Rights era, the mid-60s, okay? Civil Rights Act, 1964, 1965, and the end of Jim Crow shattered the old alignment where the Democratic Party housed both Northern liberals and Southern segregationists. The key shift happened. Southern realignment. Over several elections from the late 60s through the 1990s, white Southern conservatives migrated to the GOP. Again, conservatives. You notice how he didn't say Republicans or Democrats? They happen to be a member of the Democratic Party, but their belief was conservative. Strom Thurmond switched. Strom Thurmond was a segregationist who did not support civil rights at all, was a segregationist, bona fide racist. He was a Democrat. He shifted to the Republican Party when we introduced civil rights, when civil rights legislation came about in our country. The fact that we had to go through that, to create an amendment for another amendment for black people in our country to have the vote, to have rights. That's fucked up, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So he's the face of this. Okay, just a little bit about Strom Thurmond real quick. An American politician who represented South Carolina in the U.S. Senate from 1954 to 2003. Before his 49 years as a senator, he served as the 103rd governor of South Carolina. Thurmond was officially a member of the Democratic Party in the Senate until 1964, when he joined the Republican Party. He had earlier run for president in 1948 as a Dixiecrat candidate in opposition to Democratic President Harry Truman. A staunch opponent of civil rights legislation in the 50s and 60s, Thurmond completed the longest single-person Senate filibuster at 24 hours, 18 minutes until Cory Booker just broke it. He was in opposition to the Civil Rights Act of 1957. In the 60s, Thurmond voted against both civil rights and voting rights, despite his support of Jim Crow laws. Thurmond denied the accusation that he was a racist by insisting he was a supporter of states' rights and an opponent of excessive federal authority. So Strom Thurmond is a name that you should know if you don't know MAGA, because he is the one that said, listen, I don't want black people having rights. I don't believe in equal rights. I don't believe in any of that shit. I'm a segregationist. In fact, if slavery was still legal today, sign me up. So he left the Democratic Party and became a Republican because he found a home there. A home based on his racist segregational beliefs. Southern strategy. Republican appeals emphasized law and order, states' rights, opposition to busing, and later welfare skepticism. Welfare queens. That led to Reagan using that bullshit. Messages that resonated with racial anxieties without explicit segregationist language. Historians debate intent and breadth, but the effect was clear. The South became a Republican stronghold. So you could look at the electoral maps prior to this time, coming off the 50s and the early 60s. The South was Democrat, the North was Republican. Just look at the maps now. Okay? Look at the maps now. Where do Confederate flags fly? Where does the Triple K recruit? It's not my opinion. It's just fact. Hate to tell you. The GOP increasingly shifted white, Southern, suburban, rural, evangelical, business-friendly, skeptical of federal social programs. Democrats were multiracial, urban, secular, mainline, union, and professional class, supportive of activist government, and leaning liberal to support expansion of rights. The Northeast and the West Coast turned to Democrat, the Deep South, Plains, and much of Appalachia turned Republican. Polarization grew as ideological sorting aligned with party labels. Conservatives are always a problem and always have been. And a lot of it is rooted in racism. Sadly. True. Geraldo, how are you today?
Hi. How are you?
Fine, how are you?
I'm good. I just wanted to talk because, you know, I personally hate that the statement of "Make America Great Again." I hate that with all my being, and it's because, in my opinion, now America hasn't treated certain people right, but I still think America is great because we have the means to change things to make it better. Okay.
But that would imply that there's got to be a commitment from the majority of people to want to do that. So potential is one thing, but potential. Like, do you think America's great?
No, right now I think we're not like where we should be. No, I don't think we're great. I think we're great on is if we get together, and because if you look right now, there are so many protests trying to change things, and eventually it will change. And my personal opinion, it shouldn't be "Make America Great." It should be "Make America Better."
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Do you have a window down? Because it's really hard to hear you, my guy.
Sorry, I can't close it, unfortunately.
That's okay. It's just hard to hear you, but I appreciate. Next time when you're stable, just give me a shout back, and we'll bring it right back up. It's just kind of hard to hear. It's in my head. It's fine. I've got other voices in my head. Anyway, but that's fair. That's a fair assessment. Want to make our country better? But sure. How do we do that? Elect progressives. Hi, Laverne. How are you?
Oh, that was an accident. Sorry.
No problem. Thanks for being here. But then the question then becomes, better for whom? There you go, Farry. You just took the words out of my mouth. Better for whom? How do we get there? Better for whom? Because every single time that there's movement in one area, where is most of that movement coming from? It's because people have access to capital. Right? Yeah, Harry, we know John Bolton's house raided by FBI, but do you know why, Harry? Maybe you should research that. I don't know what political affiliation you have, but maybe you should research as to why that's happening. But anyway, I want it better for all. Like, we want it better for everybody, right? I believe in the whole theory about how all boats rise. That's what I want to see. I want all boats to rise. I'm tired of people saying we can't afford it. Remember that? I don't know if I can find the sound, but there was one, I think he was from Indiana, went back to his district, and people said, "Why are you not advocating for universal health care?" And he said, "We can't afford it." Okay. We can't afford it. The right has done an amazing job of blaming the debt crisis that we are in on social programs. They've done an incredible job on that, right? Meanwhile, ignoring the fact that the reason that we are in this position, for a variety of reasons, there's not just one, but where do we spend our money? I've asked this question before, okay? Nebraska, you're right, thank you. Of course, Nebraska. Nebraska, who's now losing rural hospitals as a result of that bill that he just voted for. Anyway, I've asked this question before. What do we prioritize in our country? I'll ask the chat. What is it that we prioritize? Think about it for a second. What do you think it is that we prioritize here? Right? Other countries around the world who are far surpassing us. Money, billionaires, rich white men, the military, profit, capitalism, firearms, money, greed. Think about that, right? Think about that. Okay? Other countries have said, we are going to prioritize the health and welfare of our citizens. And that becomes something that people want to argue against. I don't have any expectation that government's going to do everything for me. I have no expectation. In fact, I don't know any progressive that does. I don't know any liberal that does. I don't even know any left-leaning Democrat that does. Not any of them. We just want, I believe in government has a role in society. I really think it does. Because if the private sector could solve some of the problems, then we wouldn't need government. If the private sector wasn't so committed to profit over people, then we wouldn't need the government to create programs. We wouldn't have to worry about things like that. So when the right tells you they want to privatize Social Security, why do you think that is? Because corporations aren't paying people a living wage. Right? So what do you want as a society? You know, I got a birthday coming up. I don't have many trips around the sun left. I want to leave our country in the hands of people who truly care about education reform, about healthcare reform, about prioritizing the things that should matter. And I'm going to ask MAGA again, is it so radical? Is it so radical to want to have every person have healthcare, food, water, and shelter? Is that so radical? Really? Do you know why we don't have it? It's because of conservatives. You've been lied to. You've been lied to about how immigration lowers wages. You've been lied to about that. You've been lied to about crime rates. You've been lied to about that. I sound vaccinated. Thank you. I am. I appreciate recognizing that. I am proudly vaccinated. Thanks for saying that. Did you really think that was a flex? Wow. Okay. But thank you for proving my point. Why has it become, this is a human rights thing, right, friends? And again, talking about human rights on a bumper sticker is boring. But why is it such a hard sell? Because it benefits everybody. It benefits everyone. Why is it so hard? Why? Hi, Angel.
Yes. You know what? This is bringing up a lot of things. I've been a nurse for 31 years. Under this RFK regime, I am not even certain that I want to get any vaccines anymore because they're not investigating. They have defunded the CDC. So I don't even know if the vaccines that they're giving are going to be what we need.
Let's be careful with the V word because it is one of those sensitive topics on TikTok. Okay, I apologize. Yeah, let's just say inoculations. Okay, yeah. Let's use that. I completely agree with you. And think about how dangerous that is.
Yeah.
Again, something that conservatives, MAGA men in particular, MAGA men are afraid of a paper mask and a needle. You tough guys, you're afraid of a paper mask and a shot. Okay. By the way, some of you same guys that are afraid of the paper mask and a shot think you guys can handle childbirth. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. This is the thing. I was promoted. I didn't want to get it. I was skeptical about it, but I was promoted by a doctor that I work with. What are you afraid of? A little bit of lipids and a little bit of the vaccine in it. This new technology they have, they were afraid of it. They were afraid of getting this new. It's not technology. First of all, it is technology, but it's not. It's old technology. We're putting a virus into something that could put it through the cell without using metal. This is the new technology. You don't want that metal in your body. So now there's this new technology that would do it, and they're afraid of it. And I have to get the flu vaccine every year. My mother's elderly. She has to get the flu vaccine every year. I'm not afraid of that technology. But what RFK is doing, he is removing all the protections that we have for the vaccine that I feel safe with. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah, I mean it's a really good point. Think about what we see now. They'll take horse dewormer and drink raw milk.
Exactly.
Yeah, they'll be fine with that. But you've got a really bad echo, Angel. I'm sorry, but it's
I'm so
not sure
sorry.
what's going on there. That's okay. I appreciate you jumping in, friend. Thanks for being here a lot. Have a good day. It's a really great point, right? Again, why are you afraid of it? You have no reason to be other than people telling you to be. So the right loves to use the word indoctrination. Conservatives. You've been indoctrinated. You have been indoctrinated. It wasn't a book in a library. It wasn't Drag Queen Story Hour. It wasn't some radical leftist who believes in healthcare. It wasn't some college. It wasn't some university. It was your right-wing echo chamber that told you to be afraid of all these things. All of them. And you took the bait. We know, Ann, we know that FBI is raiding John Bolton's house, and it's just because the right is afraid to address the e-files. So they're coming up with a theory that it was national security, and we already know, we talked about it earlier. It's just bullshit, but whatever. My point is that conservatives and now MAGA Republicans, because y'all aren't conservatives. You like to think you are, but you guys are not conservatives. You are cult members. You cannot think freely. You think you do. You don't care about your country. You think you do. You don't care about law and order. You think you do. And again, conservatives, the susceptibility to authoritarianism is kind of what I want to talk about now. But let me see if I have anybody else that's in the box that's requested. Let's see, Anne-Marie.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi there.
I was actually coming up real fast to just so many things, but to talk about the like you said, the vaccine and the indoctrination thing, and just the lack of simple understanding of people anymore. I saw someone the other day who was saying, "Oh, after the C-19 vaccine, people, they still have the spike proteins," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're supposed to have those. That means you have immunity."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
The fundamental lack of science understanding anymore is horrendous.
That's again, it's intentional. Mm-hmm. It's intentional. We shouldn't think it just happened. It's intentional. It's been a strategy for decades. But thanks for that, Emery. I appreciate you very much. Appreciate being here.
Just real fast.
Yeah.
I was going to say this. You were talking about stuff yesterday about. So I go to Vermont regularly. I know it doesn't exist. I go yearly, and this is just for anyone, because you were talking a lot about the small businesses. If there is a small business that you love in a place that you visit, see if you can buy their products online if tourism is going to be down. Like I love, Jenna's Promise Coffee, which is...
it's not far from where I live, as a matter of fact.
I love their coffee and I love their mission. Because that's my job has a similar mission, and there's a pine soap, so I'm going to be stocking up on that just to, so I recommend to anyone, if you go to an area and you're like, oh yeah, I buy this from this place every year, try and see if they have it online to continue to support them.
I love that. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that, Emery. Thank you very much.
You're
Have
welcome.
a good day. Be safe out there. All right, take care. Nice. It's a great call out. We went through this exercise yesterday that we are seeing travel and tourism just drop like a rock. And especially small state economies that absolutely depend on tourism. In the state that I live in that does not exist, we have seasonal tourism here. And I am nervous because we are now approaching, it's bittersweet. We're now approaching leaf peeper season. For those of you who don't know, leaf peeper, literally people will come from far away, from international trips that will come to Vermont and just literally peep at the leaves. Now, other states are going to claim that they have the best fall foliage. Fine, you can live in your fantasy. The reason that Vermont's fall foliage is known as world-renowned is because of the red leaves on the sugar maples. And it is amazing to see, right? So we call them peepers, but they stop in the middle of the road sometimes to see a cow, which I get. But anyway, Anyway, our economy is dependent on it, and other states are as well, right? Everybody has their own tourist attractions, whatever they might be. But when you have a small economy and you depend on, seasonal spikes in tourism, whether it be the fall ski season, sugaring season, summertime, it's pivotal. It is pivotal, and I'm nervous about it, right? I'm just really, really nervous about it. So we'll see how it goes. So again, if you do frequent a location, if you go to regularly and you may not be able to travel there this year, find out if their products are available online. I think it's a really good call out. Okay, so what I want to kind of do now is talk about the influence of conservative rhetoric and how that translates into, sadly, unfortunately, but factually supported, violence against women and violence against marginalized communities and children, and how conservatives being susceptible to authoritarianism and their belief set has allowed them or almost justified what they have done to these marginalized communities. Now, it's not necessarily you can't necessarily draw a straight line. I'm not making I'm generalizing, and I'm not saying that everybody who's conservative is susceptible to authoritarianism, but just think about what conservatism's model was based on, right? Based on the principles of freedom, security, controlling immigration, all these kinds of things. So what Donald Trump does, and Donald Trump is not a conservative, he is an authoritarian, he has capitalized on that. And then that is turned into the degradation of all marginalized communities. And I will include women in this. Women are not marginalized, but they are in our system. They're the majority in our country, but they've been marginalized in our system. Everybody understand what I'm saying there? I'm not diminishing. I'm just saying that's part of the equation here. So we know that the MAGA movement wants to revert us back to a time when women didn't have the right to vote, where Black people in our country did not have civil rights, where we could continue to just diminish people. And then that has then led to conservative men in particular looking at women and children as property. Therefore, property you can treat any way you want. You want to leave your lawnmower outside and let it get rusted. They sort of see ownership of women and children much the same way. So it's even the women in their lives, if something happened to them, they would say, well, what were you wearing? Or maybe you shouldn't have put yourself in that position. Or you shouldn't have opened your legs, right? So we see it. Now, again, this is why I say conservatives, right? Not just Republicans, not just MAGA, but conservatives. Because there are conservative Democrats who have similar views about women. All right? So again, please understand, I am talking about conservatives, which is why I try to make sure that we clearly delineate between conservatives and progressives. I want to move society forward. And progressives, although far from perfect, do understand that it's all men until it's no men. And the people that get triggered by that are part of the problem, right? You catch me? Okay. So how conservatives, especially conservative media, covers this stuff is really where the problem is. So many religious conservatives endorse complementarianism. Men and women are equal in worth, but have God-ordained role differences. For example, male head of the household and church offices. It's laid out explicitly in the Danvers Statement. You should read about that, used by the Council on Biblical Manhood and Womanhood, CBMW. Check it out. It's not a light read. Family first, pro-life stance. The right prioritizes protecting fetal life, promoting marriage, nuclear marriage, traditional marriage, and strengthening family formation, leading conservative think tanks. Hold on. Leading conservative think tanks to push pro-family policy templates, marriage, work, childbirth incentives as a way to advance women's well-being apart from abortion access. So they see as prioritizing women's role in the home as advocating for women's rights. Think about that. Which is why when we have these conversations with people, they don't understand why we say that they're anti-women. Because in their mind, they're not. I believe that women should be safe in the home and they should have a man looking out for them. Well, sadly, that's not what happens now, is it? Skepticism of progressive gender policy. Conservatives commonly resist rules they see as blurring distinctions, especially in sports and school policy, and emphasize parental rights. The 2024 GOP platform explicitly includes keep men out of women's sports and cutting federal funds to schools that promote racial, gender, and or woke ideology. Right? It's exactly. It's backwards. The whole. Hang on one second, guys. Let me just do this. I'm gonna do this real quick. I'm trying to do capitalism at the same time of doing this. All right. Okay. What conservative polling says about women in leadership. Republicans are less likely than Democrats. Again, conservatives less likely than liberals. Although this is now the political side. So conservatism, conservative ideology influencing the GOP, the Republican Party. Although it's not traditional conservatism. It's become this hybrid of a whole bunch of shit, including authoritarianism. Republicans are less likely than Democrats to say that there are too few women in high political office. And Republican women are notably more supportive of increasing women's representation than Republican men, 40% versus 19%. 19% of conservative men polled through Gallup. 19% of conservative men say women should not have a place in leadership. 19%. Only 19% think that women should have a place in leadership. That is crazy. Translation, there's a real gender gap inside their own movement, where more women in their political movement feel like they should have more positions of authority, right? Than men. So the divide within their own party, like I'd like to think that there's an opportunity there, which is why I say maybe we should be messaging to Republican women. I don't know. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay. Sorry. I got 9,000 things going on here. All right. Okay. So then let's talk about from the conservative approach to LGBTQIA rights. Conservative Americans, and especially conservative religious groups, are less supportive of rights for the LGBTQI community and policies. Their policies are more supportive of restrictions, for example, on gender-affirming care for minors. Recent safe, but not that. PRIs. I don't even know what it wrote there. Okay, how belief translate into policy positions affecting women. 2024 GOP platform regarding Dobbs highlights opposition to late-term abortions while stressing that states must set abortion policy. Several conservative states now have early gestational limits or bans. You guys know this. I'm taking you through this because I think it shows us where the trend line is. And we've done the research already. I've done this for you, that conservative young men are becoming more conservative. Now, we can call that the red pill effect. We can call that the Charlie Kirk effect, whatever that might be. But that is a real problem. Like, I think the male loneliness epidemic is fucking bullshit. I think it is lonely men trying to blame women for all their problem. So they create this male loneliness epidemic. Self-inflicted, boys. You shot yourself in the foot. The reason you're lonely is because women would choose the bear. The reason you're lonely is because you don't respect women. The reason you're lonely is because you see women as property. The reason you're lonely is because you're a threat to women. Self-inflicted. Okay? That's the issue. So, and then conservative beliefs under the pressure of the moral majority and religious influence has turned it into this whole mess. I'm lonely. Women are the problem. You're lonely because you're a dick. You're lonely because you're an asshole. You're lonely because you're a fucking threat. That's why you're lonely. Look in the mirror. Many conservative candidates pair their anti-women's health care issues with support for contraceptives. So this weird model, right, where IVF gets debated. I don't know where the fuck they're going to land on that one. It's a weird flex. Schools and sports. Red state laws emphasize single-sex sports categories and restrict school curricula on gender sexuality, framed as protecting women's opportunities and parental controls. The platform codifies those priorities. And then pro-women family policy. Heritage Foundation and other allied groups argue the best way to help women is through marriage incentives, work-first benefits, and support for childbirth, rather than expanding AB rights. That's the intellectual backbone of much of conservative family policy advocacy, right? So think about that, right? Trying to convince women that the conservative way is the better way. You should just succumb. You should just choose staying at home. You should just choose being, subservient to your husband. And then I always think about what those conversations must be like in those conservative households who believe that. You've got a son and a daughter. They're a year apart. Maybe the young man is a junior in high school and their daughter's a sophomore in high school or a freshman in high school. What that messaging tells them is that, son, you can go out and dominate. You can do whatever you want. Daughter, you do whatever your man says. Am I wrong about that? That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like to me. You're raising them. You are defining their roles for them. You're so concerned about the left addressing gender roles. You are defining the roles for the children in your life, right? It's just a weird, again, for the party that claims to be free thinkers and independent, you're just not at all. Not even close. Libertarian-leaning conservatives tend to stress identical civil rights and minimal state involvement in private life. Religious conservatives stress role differences and moral order in law and culture. Both camp under the same small government mindset, but they part ways on where government should draw sex and family-related lines. Conservative women are not monolithic. Roughly 1/3 of American women, this is from Pew, roughly 1/3 of American women identify as conservative, 1/3. And they diverge from conservative men on representation and some workplace questions, even as they share many broader right-of-center views. So this is a Pew poll that was done last year. So again, 1/3 of American women identify as conservative. It's closer to, it's leaning towards almost 2/3 of young men now identifying conservative, or over 50%. It's a scary proposition, right? It's a scary proposition because women are becoming more liberal, progressive. Men are becoming more conservative. I ask this question. How the fuck has the human race even survived at this point? Like, I don't even know, right? So we know that birth rates are declining in our country. And of course, conservatives, men, are going to blame women for that. Okay. And then that leads into the influence of authoritarianism. And I really believe that this is the part that's the scariest to me, because you've gone down this road where you see law and order, you see suppression of voices, you see diminishing marginalized communities as part of your movement, and you stand behind it because you think that's the way to be. That's why when I always tell people that people are voting against their best interest, I don't always believe that. Now, they are in practice voting against their best interest, but I don't think they see it that way. I think they see what they're voting for is they're voting for their values. Their values happen to be fucked, in my opinion. Their values include suppressing voices. Their values include diminishing women. Their values include treating women as property. Their values include not respecting the rights of others. I don't think they see themselves as voting against their best interests, especially women who vote conservative and Republican. I just don't think they see it that way. I think they see it as preservation of their whiteness, quite frankly. I think they see it as a proximity to the hierarchy. So I don't think they see it as voting against their best interest, but it leaves them susceptible to more extreme levels of authoritarianism. So okay, here we are now, right? We're seeing it. Here we are, right? Here we are. They're cheering on the U.S. military on the streets of American cities. What could have been an innocuous conservative 10 years ago, just going to church, not really giving a shit, living their life, having questions about things, being like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of gay marriage. I don't want to get in anybody's business. But now they're out loud and proud about it. Now they're cheering it on. Again, the party that grew up thinking that small government's the way to be. And now they've got the U.S. military. You could not get any bigger government than what we're witnessing in American cities. What the classic research finds as to whether or not, are conservatives more susceptible to authoritarianism, right? In the U.S. and similar Western contexts, conservatives, on average, score significantly higher on your standard authoritarianism measures than liberals, especially on items about deference to traditional authorities. Two important caveats. One, authoritarianism is a general psychological predisposition that isn't the same thing as being conservative and can be triggered in people across the spectrum. And two, the results depend on which scale you use and how it's worded. So, for example, here's some examples. What the classic research finds: the foundational right-wing authoritarianism and a large meta-analysis of political conservatism link conservative ideology to susceptibility of authoritarianism. So again, the more conservative you are, the more likely you are to either align with authoritarians or be victimized by authoritarian rhetoric. I don't know what the answer to this is. I don't know what the answer to this is. I'm worried. To me, it comes down to education, right? To me, it really backdrops with why we have to invest in education, because without it, this trend will continue, in my opinion. Hey, Ferry, how are you?
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
I'm good, friend. What's going on?
Okay, so I was driving, so I couldn't request in earlier, so I'm going to go back a bit, but it does go with what you're talking about now. So the young man made a comment a few people ago about the fact that people are fighting. He said something about fighting. And I want to challenge the YT community to figure out what exactly they're fighting for. Okay, and I'm going to explain this a little bit more. I think brown people are fighting for survival. I think that's pretty evident at this point. Black
Agreed.
people are probably fighting for, I think globally, we want to just be left alone. Like, we don't want our history to be destroyed, our culture to be destroyed. We just want to be left alone to live in society without any like additional barriers or hurdles. I think that's pretty fair to say. So I'm wondering, and I've been looking at this, of course, I'm knee deep in all of this stuff that's going on, and I'm trying to figure out, like, why are white people fighting? Are you all fighting to get back to baseline where things are not as evident to you? Are you fighting for true progression? Are you fighting for the liberties of other, like the true liberties of others? So we can't go back to where we were if you actually want true liberties for other people. We have to be able to go forward, like we've been talking about today, about the progression and moving forward and moving the needle forward. You can't go back, because back actually was not working. You all just didn't acknowledge it. I think you knew about it, but you just didn't acknowledge the fact that it wasn't working for the vast majority of people. It just wasn't making you uncomfortable, but it wasn't working. So I want to challenge people to like think about why they're actually fighting during this period in time where it's very important to understand your goal and where what direction you're walking in. Those last few people that came on with the I called them diet conservatives in the chat is what I call them. They are not moderates by any stretch of the imagination. I call them diet conservatives because at this point we're either moving forward, you're trying to go backwards to where we were, which is again diet conservative, or you're trying to push us way back, and that's real extreme conservative values. I stopped calling them MAGA because they're not MAGA. These are conservatives. These are the people who are shaping our society right now as the conservative party. These are the people who are dragging us back by our hair and by our teeth and saying absolutely not, you go back to where I want you to be. So I just want to challenge everyone to think about what you're actually fighting for.
It's a really, really good point. I love your perspective on that. I think and you said it better than I could have said it, but that's kind of where I've been, going with this whole conversation today. It's like the things that modern conservatives claim they stand for, they don't actually stand for.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they're influenced by this desire to say that we are pro individual rights and freedoms, we are pro small government. Those things do not exist in modern conservative politics. They just don't exist. They haven't existed in 50 years. The Republican Party, under the guise of conservatism, is all about big government. They do not care about individual rights and freedoms and liberties. They just don't. They claim to care about states' rights when it comes to telling women what to do, but otherwise they don't. So you're absolutely right. What like we said discussion earlier, the fight should not be right left. The fight has to be top down. Yeah. And conservatives haven't gotten on board yet. They just want to blame your community for everything, Ferry.
Yeah, and you know what we're doing? We sitting back, minding our damn business. I don't know if y'all paid attention to that or not yet. You ain't seen us out in the streets in mass numbers. You haven't really seen us move at all. Are we organized? Absolutely. Do we need to mobilize when we need to? Yeah. But otherwise, we told everybody from November 5th on, we are not moving. And that's what the fuck we meant. We took down Target. We're going to do some other shit that we got brewing in the works. And that's what how the black community is mobilizing. And we're staying safe because we already know once we move, this is gonna look different. This is gonna look way different. And we're really going to have a target on our back. So nobody's playing that game with these people.
I totally agree, friend. Every single time democracy's been under threat, your community has showed up. It's about time for other people to do the same.
Yeah, so my challenge for the white community is for you all to really think about what you're fighting for. What's this goal for you all? Just go out there and make funny signs? I mean, I laugh at them on TikTok, but then now what? Because democracy is under attack. He literally called the governor of a state and said, steal me some seats.
Exactly. And they're going to do it again in Louisiana in violation of the Voting Rights Act.
Yes, and he wipes his balls across your face every day when he's stealing money out your pocket. Every day.
Every single day. Every day. Thank you, Ferry. I love you, friend.
Be bye, guys. There, okay? Bye.
Talk to you later.
Thank you.
All right, bye. Bye. You got it. Real quick, Jen, thank you so much for your kind donation. Your voice carries the power to educate and inspire. In these challenging times, our country is fortunate to have you to speak up. Keep up the good fight. Thank you, friend. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you, everybody, for helping us hit our gifting goal today. I really appreciate you all very, very much. Also, thank you to Kelly. Thank you to Dana. Thank you to Allie. Thank you to Ashley. You guys are very kind. I appreciate you very, very much. Do I have a little bit of sound to play here? It looks like I might. Has Dear Leader spoken up? What have I got? I'm going in blind. That's how much I trust my mods. This has to do with John Bolton, the FBI raiding John Bolton's house earlier today. Let's see what our Dear Leader has. Trump was right about everything is the new hat he's wearing. That's cool. Love that.
Walk into a room with him with a foreign country, and the foreign country would give me everything because they said, oh no, they're going to get blown up because John Bolton's there. He's not a smart guy, but he could be a very unpatriotic guy. I mean, we're going to find out. I know nothing about it. I just saw it this morning. They did a raid.
Okay, so Trump on Joel Bolton. He's not a smart guy, but he could be a very unpatriotic guy. We're going to find out. I don't know anything about him. Okay, that's cool. I'm so glad Dear Leader is so well informed. We have more sound from Dear Leader, do we? Here we go. Here's some more. Cool. Love it. Okay, Dear Leader, what do you have to say this time? We're all waiting with bated breath.
They'll brief me, probably today sometime. I don't want to, I tell Pam and I tell the group, I don't want to know, but just you have to do what you have to do. I don't want to know about it. It's not necessary. I could know about it. I could be the one starting it. I'm actually the chief law enforcement officer. But I feel that it's better this way. They'll brief me. Probably.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the FBI, under the direction of Kash Patel, raided John Bolton's house this morning. John Bolton, who was a former national security advisor in the Trump administration, having to do with national security threats. Without getting into the whole story, he wrote a book. It was that included what was questioned to be classified information. It was vetted during the Trump administration the first time. Trump's own national security team said the information that's in the book can be released. There's nothing in here that's sensitive. So that's what they're holding out, that his book, they even referenced it because of this book. John Bolton has been a very staunch critic of Donald Trump for a very, very long time. So they're going to just try to justify this because, again, authoritarians and the authoritarian MAGA that are now out there in the verse, we've already seen this morning. See that, John Bolton's house got raided. Well, tell us why. Well, because what about Biden? Jesus Christ. I don't even know anymore. But thank you all. Keep tapping and sharing, friends. Opaque, how are you today?
Oh, man.
Opaque, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I requested up by mistake, man.
No problem. Appreciate you being here. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
So that's nice. That's cool. Yeah, we're just now we're just going to go after everybody. So, Magda, the question that I have for you is, weren't we supposed to be just rounding up criminals? Weren't we just supposed to be? By the way, do you notice that the charges against Abrego Garcia have been dropped? You notice that? They brought him back. The judges said you should have deported him. They brought him back, and what did they do? They dropped the charges. Do you guys, are you ever going to accept the fact, like I said to start the show today, I have no expectation that you're suddenly going to flip and become a Democrat. I am just asking you to accept the fact that you've been lied to over and over and over and over again about everything. You free thinkers. And I want to say this to the MAGA men in the chat that are out there, because you show up every day because you love me. Kiss, kiss. You want to cuddle? Let me know. We're taking applications for the thruple, but that's turned into like a polyuple now, which I'm fine with. I don't kink shame. Let's go. Bring it on. Let's go. I'm getting old. Why are you so afraid of everything? Why are you so afraid of everything? What do you have to be afraid of? Why are you so concerned about what's in people's pants? Why are you just so susceptible to every single lie? Have you thought about that? Again, I am not asking you to believe me, but instead of cheering on Donald Trump not having to pay $500 million, why don't you find out that he's still a liable fraudster in New York? Why is that so hard? Why? Just do it. Just step out of your shell, out of the cult. Try it. You might like it. Good morning, Warrior. How are you today? Warrior, are you there? Hello, Warrior. Warrior Squirrel? I guess not. Warrior Squirrel. Okay. It's an interesting name. Exactly. Just do it, right? Just do it. Oscar, how are you today? Oscar? I guess people don't want to talk to me today. I appreciate you all listening to me in the car. I notice that happens a lot. Appreciate that. Okay, so I've got a little bit more sound to play for you guys. What's this? I want to go back to the fact that our president is a bona fide racist. Let me close out. Before I get into that, I just want to remind people of something that LBJ said. If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best, I won't use the C word, the C word in reference to black men. If you can convince the lowest white man that he's better than the best C man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, he'll give him somebody to look down on. He'll empty his pockets for you. And I just see it every single day. Like, we talk about this in terms of what we see in front of us, about the diminishing of marginalized communities. Everybody, because mediocre white men have never accomplished anything in life, and because they haven't, they want to blame everyone else. They don't want to accept the fact that there's been upward mobility in marginalized communities. They don't want to accept the fact that our society is changing. That we're becoming more diverse as a culture, that the census tells them that they're going to be the minority inside of 20 years, if not sooner. So again, if you can convince the lowest white man he's better than better than the best C man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, he'll empty his pockets for you. We see it every day, right? Give me money. Buy my merch, because I'm gonna lock up brown skin people. Give me money, support my cause, donate to my campaign, because I'm going to erase American history. Because we don't want to give any credit to black people. Give me money, because I'm your champion. I'm going to make sure that the trans ideology, everybody wanting to go trans, I got your back. And what do you guys do? You do exactly what LBJ predicted. Hell, give him somebody to look down on. He'll empty his pockets for you. Literally, donations, and figuratively. Hardcore support. 47% of Republicans surveyed in this Legger poll that we talked about, 47% of Republicans surveyed said that if Donald Trump was incriminated in the Trump files connected to JE, they would still support him. Should tell you everything you need to know, right? Okay. Cool. I'm going to get into Trump's unforgivable sin. I might have to wait until Monday, but because I may not have enough time for that, because that's a story that you guys are going to want to read. All right, so let's talk about the Smithsonian, since we're talking about this issue now. And this everything then boils down. By the way, there's new reporting because in the past, very rarely, so the way that the press pool works in the Oval Office, all right, is that usually the president will sit around the fireplace that's now covered in gold. I shared this with you guys yesterday, and I don't know if I'm going to share it with you again in case you weren't here. But this picture right here, where is it? This picture. This is the Donald and Ivana in Leningrad, Russia in 1987. Look at that picture, and then look at what you see in the Oval Office these days. So, but Russia has no influence over him, right? None whatsoever. Okay, so part of the press gaggle that gathers in the White House, in the Oval Office, President usually sits at the table or by the fire, and then he's got people on his left and right on the couches. Lately, he's been sitting behind the Resolute desk, and there are rumors circulating that people don't want his people don't want the press to see his cankles, right? Because he's got a health condition, right? He's got a health condition, a pretty serious circulation condition that's problematic. So now we're starting to see the press gather around the Resolute desk, which is not common. So now when he's saying his racist marks and his bigoted marks and his anti-American marks, those are all coming from behind the Resolute desk, including this sound. Here you go.
They're insinuating that you are trying to change history according to your narrative. What's your response to that, and is there anything you'd particularly like to take a look at?
We want the museums to treat our country fairly. We want our museums to treat our countries fairly. Talk about the history of our country in a fair manner, not in a woke manner or in a racist manner, which is what many of them, not all of them, but many of them are doing. Our museums have an obligation to represent what happened in our country over the years, good and bad, but what happened over the years in an accurate way.
Trump has instructed White House lawyers to conduct a sweeping review of the Smithsonian museums, expressing frustration with how they portray America's history. He criticized the institution for what he described as an excessive focus on negative chapters, particularly how bad slavery was, arguing that the exhibitions emphasize misery and decline rather than success, hope, or the future. He called the Smithsonian, quote, out of control and declared that the country cannot be woke. In his view, the museums should celebrate America's brightness instead. Okay. Sure. This is some sound from previous administrations before Project 2025 really got a hold of this guy. So when you lead a racist to water, they're still going to be a racist. When you jam their racist head in the water, they're just going to become a louder racist. So he was always a racist. And now Project 2025 and Stephen Miller said, Mr. President, we don't think you're racist enough. So we're going to do things connected to policy that's going to make it so obvious that anybody who's ever on the edge will just be a bona fide racist. Okay? All right, cool. Glad we could clear that up. Here you go. This is some sound from back in 2017.
Privilege of visiting the National Museum of African American History and Culture right here in Washington, D.C. It's a new, beautiful Smithsonian museum that serves as a shining example of African Americans' incredible contributions to our culture, our society, and our history. It also tells of the great struggle for freedom and equality that prevailed against the sins of slavery and the injustice of discrimination. The work and love of the people who helped create such a masterpiece is a testament to the legacy of so many leaders it honors.
Okay, so Funny how things change. I misspoke about something, by the way, guys. I want to clear this up. I misspoke about the charges against Mr. Garcia being dropped. He's scheduled to be released today. There's reporting that the Justice Department does not have the evidence that they claim to have. So the conversation was whether or not the charges were going to be dropped. I misspoke. So my apologies. I didn't want to get anybody too excited about that. But the reporting is that he's scheduled to potentially be released today. So I don't want somebody running and saying, hey, I heard it on Facts Live. So I want to clear that up. Again, I misspoke about that. My apologies. That's not what I intended to do. That's how you become accountable for the things that you say. Okay? So we've got Mr. Trump's history with racism. We know about that. So then we've got people that are going around on the right-wing circles and just some of the weird-ass shit that a lot of them are saying right out loud. So I've got this sound I'm going to play for you. I'm not even sure who this person is, quite frankly, but they are a despicable human being because they were just recently interviewed on a Fox News channel by some Fox guest or some Fox host. This is what they had to say on the same topic. Here you go. Hang on a second. MAGA spokesperson lies about the emphasis on slavery at the Smithsonian. Here you go. Her name is Lindsay Halligan, special assistant to Donald Trump.
The fact that we had our country was involved in slavery is awful. No one thinks otherwise. But what I saw when I was going through the museums personally was an overemphasis on slavery. Mm-hmm. And I think there should be more of an overemphasis on how far we've come since slavery. Our country is a country of progress, and it's the greatest country in the world. And we should be able to take our kids, our students through the Smithsonian and feel proud when we leave.
Lindsay Halligan, special assistant to Donald Trump, went on Fox News and regurgitated an easily disputable claim about the emphasis on slavery at the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture. Lindsay, who claims to have just personally visited the museum, says that the exhibits focus too much on slavery and not enough on progress. The National African American History and Cultural Museum only has one permanent exhibit that focuses on the history of slavery. It's called Slavery and Freedom. Besides this one exhibit, the museum explores the history of Black Americans in sports, music, film, television, theater, and technology, among others. There are exhibits dedicated to inventions by Black people. Art exhibits include photography by Black visual artists, as well as paintings, sculptures, murals, and other fine art. There's an exhibit dedicated entirely to the art of dance and the contributions of Black dancers like Alvin Ailey. The National Museum of African American History and Culture is a 400,000 square foot, 10-story building dedicated to presenting the entire history of Black people in America. The claim that this entire building has nothing else to offer other than stories about slavery is a bona fide lie. Lindsay Halligan is a fucking racist bigot. I'll call it what it is. Okay? So this goes back to what we talked about earlier today about conservatism. Right? How conservatives, the history of, the transition from their political ideologies and their political identifiers, Confederate flag bearing, bring my flag and my hood to the Capitol on January 6th are bigoted fucking racists. Period. Full stop. You've got Stephen Miller who represents that. And you've got people out there trying to literally rewrite history. Why, again, more examples of conservatives being afraid of everything. You are now afraid of our actual history. To what end? To what end? You don't want future generations to know of our history? It's horrible. Our history is horrible. What we've done to marginalized communities. Horrible. Not dissimilar to what we've seen in other autocratic countries now, is it? No, it's not. I've got some more examples for you. Did I play that one? Oh, here's another example. More conservatives. Okay, this is, again, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. More conservatives. The focus is on conservatives, okay? This is Dan Patrick, Lieutenant Governor of Texas. This is coming from the recent Texas redistricting and how the Senate gavelled in the vote so they could pass their racially gerrymandered constitutional districts or congressional districts in their state. So listen to this. This is fucking wild.
Amen.
Amen. To those in the gallery, please be seated. Thank you for standing. For those of you who didn't stand, next time you come to the gallery, you stand for the invocation.
Oh.
It's respecting the Senate. If you don't stand for the invocation, I'll have you removed. We asked you to stand. I've never seen a gallery ever have any members in my 17 years of people who refuse to stand for the invocation. It will not be tolerated.
Wow. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick publicly threatened visitors and attendees in the Senate gallery, demanding they stand for the invocation or be removed. In doing so, he disregarded the fundamental American principles of religious freedom and the separation of church and state. Conservatives. Always the problem. Always will be. Conservatives. So, anybody in Texas feel like taking a road trip to Austin? Going into the Senate chamber? And when he says all rise, just sit in your fucking ass and don't do a damn thing? Do it. Let them arrest you. Do it. And call it out. Videotape the whole fucking thing. Just do it. Just do it. Power and control. It's a joke. And people are cheering that on. You see what I mean about the hypocrisy? The party of individual liberties and freedoms, the conservatives, the party of individual liberties and freedoms, wanting everybody, well, whitey people, to have the same rights and liberties. Now, you can't sit if you want to sit. There's nothing that you don't have to stand for the flag. You don't have to put your hand over the heart for the national anthem. You don't have to do any of that fucking shit. Somebody might disagree, but that's their right. They can disagree. I can disagree that Republicans don't want to legislate saving kids in school. I can disagree loudly that Republicans and conservatives don't give a fuck about feeding kids. I mean, give me a fucking break. Where are you constitutional champions when we need you? Where are you? Where are you standing up for this kind of shit? Where are you? I know where you are. You're hiding behind his moral majority because you're fucking cowards. Every single one of you. You are fucking pathetic cowards. You don't give a shit about the things that you claim to care for. You're fucking cowards. All of you. It's pitiful. That is something that is just so blatantly obvious. I demand that you stand. Fuck you. I don't need to fucking stand for you. Fuck you. What are you going to do about it? I'll arrest you. Then arrest me. And I'll call out your fucking shit. And I'll go national. And I'll remind people that you are violating my rights. Fuck you. You don't like it? Get the fuck out of here. I don't care. I don't give a shit if you don't. I don't really give a shit.
Hey,
Hi,
Steve.
Tilda. How are you?
I'm
Hi.
good. I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to point out that they don't really care about you disrespecting the God or you disrespecting. They don't care about that. They didn't care about Colin Kaepernick disrespecting God. It was not about, or the country. It was not about that. It's about them. It is about the liberal disrespected it. And that's all that really matters.
Right. Well, that's why I want conservatives, the brave constitutional conservatives, to go to the Senate chamber in Texas and refuse to stand and then watch what's happening. Those same people who claim about individual rights and liberties. Mm-hmm. They really don't. Well, they don't care. No, they don't care about any of it. They don't care about any of it.
No, they don't. They don't care about any of that. They never have. They only care about conserving what they want.
Correct. Correct.
So, I
appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, friend. See you later.
Bye.
Come on. It's just a joke. Why would you? And this is, to me, this is the worst part, right? It's the worst part. Those of us who care about human rights and dignity And that's why we always say, listen, this woke ass progressive who lives in the communist haven that is Vermont that doesn't exist. I care more about your rights, MAGA, than you do. I care more about your own individual liberties and freedoms than you do. I care more about your rights to protest your government than you do. I care more about your children. I care more about the women in your life. I care more about your freedom for growth. I care more about your economic future. I care about all of it more than you do. You don't agree, Bryant? Come up and talk to me. Do you not agree with that? I can prove it. It's simple. I can prove it. Come on up and talk to me, Bryant. It's not that hard. It's obvious. We see it every single day. Because my rights would then translate to your rights too. So if I push for economic equality, if I push for universal health care, if I push for taxation that benefits the middle class, then I care more about you than you do. So if you are brave enough, man enough, stop polishing your truck nuts for 5 minutes and come on up and talk to this woke ass progressive who you think you can own. Go for it. You won't, because you're a coward too. Just be easier. we're going to change the background next week. We're going to say MAGA are cowards. Okay. Proving once again that our government does not give a fuck about transparency. Pam Bondi tightens grip on Justice Department after the e-files fallout. I'm not sure if you guys heard about this. Pam Bondi has finally emerged from a self-exile following right-wing blowback over her handling of the Schmepstein files and is reasserting control over the Justice Department and her role as AG. Bondi moved this week to install a new co-deputy FBI director alongside Dan Bongino, which basically means Dan's going to be out of a job. Now, Trump doesn't have the balls to fire him because that wouldn't look good on him. So what Pam Bondi's going to do is just marginalize him. Bongino, who had a heated confrontation with the Attorney General in July and threatened to resign over the e-files debacle. It's a signal, Trump administration officials say, that Bondi won the power struggle and Bongino is likely to exit. Of course she won the power struggle. She's the AG. Of course she did. After being a regular presence on Fox from the White House lawn since taking office in Feb, Bondi went into a nearly month-long media lockdown after the president's MAGA loyalist base reacted in an uproar at the Justice Department's unsigned July 7 memo that affirmed Epstein lost his life via self-unaliving and then reneged on Bondi's promise to release the investigative files. In twin Fox appearances in recent days, Bondi evinced that, for now at least, that the Epstein imbroglio was behind her. Interviewer Sean Hannity and Larry Kudlow didn't ask about the files. Shocker. Here we go. There it is. In twin Fox appearances in recent days, Bondi evinced that, and she went on Hannity and Kudlow's show, and they didn't ask about the files. Of course. Of course not. Of course they wouldn't ask. Of course. It's a safe space. Of course they wouldn't ask. It's over. She made it through. She's going to be fine, one conservative ally said. In the days after the memo was released, the Justice Department initially kept up Bondi's public appearances. Officials told CNN at the time they believed putting Bondi in front of cameras to talk about the administration's priorities, like drug seizures and targeting violent crime, would take focus away from Epstein. But the announcements were not enough to change the conversation. At a press conference at the DEA headquarters to announce fentanyl seizures, the first question Bondi took was about E. Nothing about E, not going to talk about E. Sure, just run from it. That's easy. I'm just going to run away from it. Just going to run. Just going to run from it. Don't have to talk about it. I'm not going to answer the questions. That's why it's not going to go away. Hi, Delta. Oh, hi, Delta. How are you? Delta? Delta? Okay. Okay. Sorry. And you want to come up either. It's a not so subtle nod that Bongino's days at the FBI could be coming to a close. Justice Department officials say White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt pushed back on the idea that Bongino was being eased out, saying that Bailey, quote, has been brought on as another set of very credible and experienced hands to work alongside the current Deputy Director Dan Bongino under the leadership of the Director Kash Patel and AG Pam Bondi. Do they think that we're stupid? Pam Bondi not answering questions, Dan Bongino having a ride along, somebody in the sidecar. He's going to leave. And what's going to happen with Dan? Is he going to go public? What's that? He put that post on X. Mods, would somebody mind finding that for me? Bongino made that really cryptic post on X that he said, like, I've never seen anything like this in my days. This blew up my whole trust for government. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? I think so. You guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah, Kilmar Abrego Garcia could be released from pretrial detention and head back to his home state of Maryland as early as today, but it's unclear if ICE will seek to deport him again. Once he's released, immigration agents aren't allowed to immediately take Abrego Garcia into custody in Tennessee under a ruling last month by a Maryland-based U.S. District Court judge. When he gets back to Maryland, the government must put him back into the same ICE supervision program that he belonged in before he was detained, and they need to give him 72 hours notice if they plan to initiate deportation to a country other than El Salvador. Abrego Garcia's attorneys have strongly denied the government's allegations, including claims that he belonged to MS-13. Earlier this week, his lawyers filed a motion to dismiss and the charges, accusing the Trump administration of engaging in a vindictive and selective prosecution. Okay, so Alcatraz is likely to be closed. Right, we know that. Judges just came out with that ruling. I can read that to you. Where is it? Judge rules Alcatraz can stay open for now, but no further detainees or constructions are allowed within 60 days. The facility must also remove all generators, gas, sewage, and other waste and waste receptacles, which calls into question how it could possibly operate. A federal judge in Miami ruled yesterday that Alcatraz, the contested migrant detention facility in Florida, can remain operational for now, but it cannot expand and no additional detainees can be brought in. U.S. District Judge Kathleen M. Williams. So is that judge now the problem? Is the judge too woke? Is the judge because the judge stood up for human rights? Right. U.S. District Judge Kathleen M. Williams entered a preliminary injunction to prevent the installation of any additional industrial-style lighting and any site expansion. Her ruling further prevents, quote, bringing any additional persons who are not already being detained at the site at this time of order. The ruling was filed late Thursday within 60 days, and once the population attrition allows for safe implementation of this order, the facility must also remove all generators, gas, sewage, and other waste and waste receptacles that were installed to support this project, which means it's going to close. Can't be open without, well, I'm sure they'll try to figure out a way. Here you go. Yes, that's it, Jess. Thank you. This is the quote from Dan Bongino that came out on X. You guys can interpret this however you want. During my tenure here as Deputy Director of the FBI, I have repeatedly relayed to you that things are happening that might not be immediately visible, but they are happening anyway. They are happening. The director and I are committed to stamping out public corruption and the political weaponization of both law enforcement and intelligence operations. It is a priority for us. But what I have learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigations into these aforementioned matters has shocked me to my core. We cannot run a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned. We are going to conduct these righteous and proper investigations by the book and in accordance with the law. We are going to get to the answers we all deserve, in all caps. As with any investigation, I cannot predict where it will land, but I can promise you an honest and dignified effort at truth. Not my truth or your truth, but the truth. God bless America and all those who defend her. Okay? This part. What I have learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigations into these aforementioned matters has shocked me to my core. So let's think about that for a second, friends, right? Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, and others have been talking about the e-files for a very, very long time. And it's always been their argument that it is a global cabal. It is the deep state. It is everybody but people in their circles. So what would shock them to the core? Exactly, right? What I've learned has shocked me to my core. Would that then say that, there's people in here that I did not expect to be here? Shock me to my core. And then just coincidentally, he gets silenced. Coincidentally, they hire somebody to ride along with him. Interesting, right? Isn't that interesting? So wild. God, I don't know. It just, I guess nothing to see here, right? Yep. Conservatives. Okay. All right. Let me get back to this then. We covered the grass. I'm glad to know that our president is so concerned about the grass in D.C. It's so important. Did I touch that? Oh, this. I can't forget. I can't believe I forgot to play this for you guys. As we were seeing the economic impact of our tariffs, because conservatives, right, are so afraid of brown people that they're willing to allow industries in our country to just die on the vine, like literally and figuratively, that they're willing to accept whatever happens. Even though the industries that are in desperate need of workers, weak-ass cowardice MAGA men would never do the jobs. So Fox News, though, they have the answer. Don't worry. Fox News has the answer, you guys, in case you were concerned. Here it is. Here's the answer.
Grew up pulling tobacco. There are wonderful jobs in farming, in construction, all of this that has sort of been handed over to largely illegal aliens allowed into the country to do all this cheap labor.
Okay.
Maybe you pay a little bit more for blueberries actually have Americans picking the blueberries, right? But that's wonderful. Also, allow children to do it as summer jobs. The idea that your government, that your precious government, doesn't allow children to work summer jobs in blueberry fields, is just mind blowing to me.
Well, it's very difficult work, by the way.
Right. That's the answer. Got it. I was really concerned because I hear a lot of the rhetoric, but I never hear what the solutions are. So instead of your kids going to arts and craft camp or vacation Bible school, instead of your kids going to arts and your children, instead of them going to summer camp and being kids, Fox News fascist conservatives just expect them to go to work. Protect the kids, though, right? Protect the kids. Let's protect the kids. Let's make sure that our children are looked after. Let's protect the kids. You guys know what the for-profit prison industry is, right? So don't be fooled by the rhetoric regarding crime prevention and or cleaning up the streets of DC, because they will get subsidized. These pay-for-profit prisons will get subsidized with government money when they fill all the beds. So when you are approaching a houseless community, wherever it might be, and you're using the guise of we are cleaning up our streets for crime prevention, when they're giving people, think about this scenario, okay? You're houseless. You're probably not in the best shape. Could be a variety of reasons why you're houseless. I am not going to demonize that community. I'm going to address the fact that people are struggling with substance use disorder. There's a variety of things. It's safe to say, though, that your mental health is probably not great. Now, you could be there because of mental health crises. You might, whatever it might be. You may not have access to your meds, all kinds of things. You may not be in the best state. You may not be of sound mind, right? You're approached by a federal law enforcement agent and or officer, and you're told either accept treatment, forced government treatment, or we're going to put you in jail. And if that person is not of sound mind, then that, who knows, even if they're an actual law enforcement officer, is going to put them behind bars, filling up the population of these for-profit prisons so that they can get government subsidies. That is diabolical. Conservatives, the party that cares about individual rights and liberties. What's the number? It's roughly 20% of our houseless population in our country is a veteran. So conservatives, you care about veterans? No, you don't. You give a fuck. You don't care about law enforcement. You don't care about veterans. You don't care about active duty. You don't give a fuck about any of them. You just care about what you're told to care about. You're told to care that immigrants are ruining our country, the enemy from within. You're told to be afraid of flags, healthcare, education, words, books. So we're just going to round up people. We're going to just take people off the street and put them in for-profit prisons, and those for-profit prison owners will benefit because they'll get subsidies from the government, your taxpayer dollars. Nice. You don't care because you're cowards. Every single one of you. You're cowards. Some good news, okay? California has moved ahead with their redistricting map. And the difference is that California did it the way that we would expect all of them to do it, by leaving it up to the voter. So when Charlie Kirk says things like this,
and so Gavin Newsom is going to try to call a special session to overturn the will of the voters. I thought it was all about democracy, right? It's not democracy. It's about oligarchy. And the baseline component of all of this is that the people of California, Republican and Democrat, socialist and libertarian, they don't want politicians involved in the drawing of the maps. Gavin Newsom does not care because he wants to be president more than listen to the voters of California.
That's the exact opposite of what just happened. They introduced a redrawn map that was approved by the House and the Senate in California, and then with the understanding that it goes before the voters this fall. So the actual voters in California, Charlie, you fucking pond scum, Charlie, voters in California will get to decide, unlike what happened in Texas. Texas voters didn't get to decide. Why didn't you call that out, Charlie? Oh, I know, because you're a conservative. Fuck yourself. Hey, guys, mods, do you remember that little sound that I sent you guys regarding FMK and Charlie Kirk? You'll know what I'm talking about. It's buried somewhere in the mod chat. Can somebody populate that for me? Bring it so I don't have to dig for it. I think it's funny to play it right now. I'm gonna save that one for next week. Listen, okay? I've said this before. I don't want this to turn into a state by state redistricting map because I believe in democracy. All about hate. Why not say good stuff about Democrats? Are all about hate. Why not say good stuff about Democrats? Rick, why can't you come up to the chat? Okay, this is great. Is that the one? No, it's this. I think it's this one. It's the one I sent you where the women were sitting around talking about how one woman said Charlie's gums are where orgasms go to die. That one. I think you know the one I'm talking about. Let's see. Is that it? Is that it? No, hold on a second. It's just funny. Hold on. I'll find it. Thank you guys. You guys are digging hard for me. Appreciate y'all. I think it's this one. Unavailable. Anyway. Listen, I'm going to wrap. I'm tired. I didn't sleep at all last night. I'm not feeling so hot, but I'm going to wrap today. I want to say this, okay? conservatives, that you guys have put yourself in this position because you claim to stand for things. Okay? You claim to stand for these things that you believe are on the right side of history, the correct side of history. If you don't want to be aligned with people who say that slavery wasn't so bad, then don't be. If you truly say you care about children, then do things that would show that. If you say you truly care about your country, then that means you have to accept some hard truths. That your country is not yours alone. It belongs to me. It belongs to members of marginalized communities. It belongs to the people who actually built this country, right? Slave owners did not build the country. Slave owners owned people who built the country. Immigrants built the country. Okay? It's not just people who look like me. People who deserve your respect for the freedoms that you have now. You will never respect them because you've been told to. You have no reason to hate them. The amount of hatred and anger and animus that you show towards these marginalized communities, those communities still care more about your rights than you do. Still care more about your children's future, your economic future, your health, your welfare, and the future of numerous generations. At some point, maybe you'll realize that they deserve your respect. I doubt it. I doubt it. But oh well. Who do you want to raid today, guys? I'm sorry, friends, I have to cut out early. I'm out of gas. I'm rambling, and I can always tell when I'm tired. But first of all, I just want to thank everybody for being here. I know this has been crazy times, and I don't always want to have to, be all doom and gloom, which is why we try to provide some glimmers of hope. Oh yeah, Danny. We're gonna raid Danny. Remember she joined us earlier? DANI. Everybody go raid Danny. Tell her how much we love her. You guys are amazing mods, best mods in the business, smartest chat on TikTok. I love you all very, very much. We will